Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to get you styled up with Stitch Fix. Shopping's hard. It's hard. With Stitch Fix, you get a stylist, though, who understands your style, your size, your budget, and they do all the shopping for you.
Wow.
This is excellent. Shopping, I'm telling you, shopping and figure out your style, it's overwhelming. Let somebody help you when it comes to getting dressed. We don't know what we're doing, so we let Stitch Fix help us out. A Stitch Fix stylist there. They know what works on us. We get the prices that make us look really good, and it feels good. You get some confidence boost walking around knowing that you're looking decent here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we just give the stylist our sizes, style, budget preferences. We order boxes when we want, how we want, no subscription or any of that required. And they send called Just For Me pieces as well. Like, maybe you'd like this, and it's awesome. Outfit recommendations, styling tips. You keep what you love, you send back the rest. It's super easy.
Yep.
You can do it, and we are doing it because it's excellent. Personal styling for everyone. Get started today at stitchfix.com/STM. That's stitchfix.com/STM.
Now back to the show.
Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show and tell you about Noom. Has Noom helped you? I believe it has.
Oh, that's got an app. You can do tracking. It's terrific.
It does. Noom builds personal plans that can meet individual needs. That's the thing. Takes into account any dietary restrictions, medical issues, other personal needs. That helps build a plan that works for you. And yes, so I know that you've had your own personalized program here that you've been working on. And
it's weight loss This is weight loss results that last. They stick around because you get yourself into a lifestyle change. That's what matters.
That's mainly it. You can't just say, I'm going to cut that out for a month and then go back to it. That's not what it is. So I'm glad it's helping you. That's great. And it really does. I like the psychology and biology-based approach here. Yeah. Noom Weight uses psychology. That's why they say losing weight starts with your brain, but it also takes into account your unique biological factors, Jimmy. All of your multitude flora and fauna that goes on inside of you there.
Sure. Yeah.
Stay focused on what's important to you with Noom's psychology and biology-based approach. Sign up for your trial today at Noom.com, Noom.com here. Based on 3.5-year study of actively engaged Noom users with minimum starting BMI of 25. Individual results may vary. Visit our website for more information.
Welch's knows some things make zero sense, like why the algorithm knows your music tastes better than you do. But zero sugar and full flavor? We made that make sense with new Welch's Zero Sugar. All that passion fruit or tropical punch goodness and none of the sugar. You gotta sip it to get it. New Welch's Zero Sugar. Let's fruit stuff up.
This week, in Conway, South Carolina, a brutally murdered teenager prompts a visit from an FBI profiler and leads police to investigate the whole town when the answer was right there all along. Welcome to Small Town Murder. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Small Town Murder.
Yay!
Oh, yay indeed, Jimmy. Yay indeed. My name is James Pietragallo. I'm here with my co-host.
I'm Jimmie Whisman.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We are excited as usual, which is a weird thing to say for murder, but, you know, that's how we're living these days. And so there we go. We're excited for murder, but it is a terrible, awful murder, but absolutely wacky, insane, wild case and some backwoodsness to it. It's wild stuff. Before we get to it, very quickly, want to thank you for all that you do for us. First of all, your reviews, very helpful. Thank you for those. Whatever your app you're listening on, 5 stars is wonderful, so thank you. Shutupandgivememurder.com is where you get not only your merchandise, all sorts of new stuff up all the time, but your tickets to live shows.
Tell me more.
Next one with tickets is going to be July the 15th. We are in New Orleans. Get there. Tickets remaining on that show. Get to New Orleans. Come and see us. Let's do this.
Hell yeah.
That's right. Pirates and thieves and everything else. And we have Atlanta the next night. That's been sold out for like 2 years, but keep checking back. People return tickets, and you never know. They pop up. And I also saw a lot of people have asked about it, the Austin, Texas show in November. A few tickets have popped up for that. So
you better get on them.
Now. Clean those up. Let's do that and do that. ShutUpAndGiveMeMurder.com. Now, Patreon.com/crime and sports is where you're going to get all of the good stuff, the bonus stuff, where everything you get. It's going to be so good, Jimmie, Patreon.com. You get the whole back catalog you're going to get. First of all, you're going to get new episodes, like 4 of them a month. And anybody $5 or above, you get access to all of it. Crime and Sports and Small Town Murder. By the way, if you're not listening to Crime and Sports, you're going wrong. Listen to
wrong with you?
Listen to Crime and Sports. Yes, it's not murder every week. We understand that. But if you like the way we present a show, I think you're really going to enjoy Crime and Sports. So give it a chance and check that out. Start with Mitch Blood Green and go from there. If you don't like that, I don't know. We're different kinds of people. But for Small Town Murders bonus episode, we are going to talk about this back by popular demand. Go back in the newspaper articles and find weird old-timey murders.
Old-timey shit.
Old-timey. And that includes some weird articles that I found. There's a couple on aliens and one about Madison Square Garden in the 50s. There's a circus going on. The announcer, ringmaster, whoever calls out the clown that's supposed to come out, the big time. He's the star of the deal. He's been murdered in his dressing room. So that's in there too.
Fantastic.
A lot of funny stuff here. So patreon.com/crime and sports. And of course, you will get a shout out at the end of the show where Jimmie will terribly mispronounce your name, even though he'd love to do it correctly. He really would.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
He's trying hard, but it's going to be bad probably.
Public schools failed.
Especially if your last name's Italian.
Yeah.
Sorry. That said, everybody, let's do the disclaimer. This is a comedy show. We're comedians.
We are.
But unfortunately, the shows are 1,000% real. There's nothing embellished for comedic effect or anything crazy like that. It is just a wild story, and we're going to find the weird stuff in it to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
We go out of our way not to make fun of the victim or the victim's family.
Why, James?
Because we're assholes, but we're not scumbags. That's how that works. So if that sounds good to you, I think it's going to be a wild, crazy show. Sure, and there's plenty to make fun of around dead people that aren't the dead people, trust me. Right. And we're going to do all of that. So if you think true crime and comedy should never go together, maybe it's not for you. But it might be. Yeah. Might be not what you're thinking. So check it out, but no complaining afterwards. That's all we got to say. That said, I think it's time to sit back, clear the lungs wherever you are, and you're exercise things in your car, maybe not in a too public of a place, but other than that, sit back and shout, shut up and give me murder. All right. Let's do this, Jimmie, shall we?
Let's go.
Let's go on a trip. All right. We are going to South Carolina today.
Yeah.
Look at us. Been a while since we've been there. This South Carolina, this is Conway, South Carolina.
I'm riveted already.
It's in northeastern South Carolina, which is strange. South Carolina's...
That was the most confusing.
Yeah, I was just going to say, South Carolina is such a southern state that it feels like it shouldn't even have a northeastern part of the state. You know what I'm saying? It's really... It's difficult.
Northeast South Carolina.
Northeast South Carolina. We're just missing west. West is all left out. So this is about a half hour to Myrtle Beach. So my dad lived down there till a couple of years ago in this general vicinity here. About a half hour to Myrtle Beach, about 2 hours to Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay.
3 hours and 35 minutes to Modoc, South Carolina, which was our last South Carolina episode, which was Murder at Scary Bridge. Do you remember that creepy bridge? Yeah, really creepy. Episode 228, so it's been a while. Yeah. So here we go, back in town, everybody, or back in the state anyway. This is in Horry or Horry County. I'm not sure how it's H-O, like Robert Horry.
Right, yeah.
But they pronounce the H in what, so I'm not sure. It might be Horry County. I'm not, you know what I mean? It'd be weird if they didn't pronounce it here, but they pronounce it in what? So who knows? Area code 843. History of this town. Conway is one of the oldest towns in South Carolina, actually.
Okay.
It's very historic. So Horry County was created in 1801, and they had a courthouse and all of that. And then they changed Kingston, though, to Conway Borough.
Okay.
Which is really long. This is in 1883.
Oh, okay.
Or the
so
18
long before Mr. Twitty.
Long before. Imagine if that was a town named after Conway Twitty.
I'd love it. That would be amazing.
It's been a long time. This town's still lovely. All right, sorry.
He's so good.
Conway Twitty, his hair is just wonderful. Amazing hair. So
and his face, Jesus.
His chest hair and his booze face, it's awesome.
Yeah, everything nipples up is not good on that man.
No, nipples down probably isn't much better, Jimmy. He's acted like his cock's impressive, but above that, I don't see anything positive about the man
I don't know
physically.
that I've seen Conway Twitty nipples down ever.
That's what I mean. I don't know. He's always shown from the chest up.
Yeah, they focus nipples up, and that's not positive.
That's because his balls are out, Jimmy. That's what it is. Conway Twitty is known for performing balls out all the time. When they say his performance is balls out, they mean literally. They mean literally balls out, and then people took it and ran with it in a different direction, you know?
They thought it just meant giving all you got because he's singing his ass off.
No, not there. So the town was changed, though. This was in honor of General Robert Conway. Mm-hmm. And then they changed it to just Conway in 1883 because they were like, this is too long. Why are we putting borough on it? That's too much, man. So reviews of this town, they're varying here. One of them's amazing, by the way. It's incredible. 5 stars. Conway is a very laid-back country town. I've lived here for about 15 years now. Everybody knows everyone in this little town, and you cannot go to the grocery store without seeing someone you know. My nightmare. You become close with very many people, and they become more like family.
Very many.
Very many people.
Just say many.
Many. 4 stars. I love the history associated with downtown Conway, especially the architecture on the buildings. I like the ability to find places easily along the roads. These other towns are hiding everything. You can drive down the road, you don't see nothing. It's all hidden. Okay.
Main Street, they got side streets hiding the McDonald's.
Oh, I don't know. Never can find a McDonald's when you need one. I would definitely like to be able to walk around outside, but sometimes I am scared due to the amount of homeless or just mug-looking people.
What?
Mug-looking? I don't know what that is, but that must be a local term. I'm not sure. The mug. Watch out for the mug-looking, everyone. Is that a term? Mug?
Do they think mug shot is a description? Is that what they think?
It's mug-looking, too. Like it's one word. Mug-looking. Like, you know what I mean? That's how it's said.
Who knows? Because in mug shots, everybody looks bad. They think that a mug look is...
I'm not sure. Everyone out there, if you know what a mug-looking person is, if that's a local term, tweet it at Small Town Murder.
That's one I will not Google.
At Murder Small on Twitter, Small Town Murder on Instagram, please. We don't know what the hell's going on. So 4 stars. The things that I liked about the little town called Conway was that everything you needed was right in front of you, and you kind of knew who everyone was. Didn't have to wonder about he/she because either you grew up with them or you are related to them.
I don't like that at all.
Yeah, you don't have to wonder about them because you know them, dipshit. Here's 3 stars. This is hilarious. This is a review, by the way, on a website about the town. Nothing to do with any businesses, but this person, okay. 3 stars, Rotelli Pizza and Pasta. This is just a review of the pizza place. I come from a very Italian background. I grew up in the north end of Boston where we have world-class Italian cuisine. And I have 2 full-blooded Italian grandmothers who taught me everything about cooking. So I would say I know really good Italian food, and the food at Rotelli's is meh. The food is good, but nothing outstanding. It's really hit or miss there. Some food it's outstanding, but other times it's bland and not worth paying the price. Their fried calamari are really bad. really bad. I like the way you put it. The fried calamari are really bad. It's frozen and not well breaded and seasoned. Yeah. The chicken broccoli ziti is really inconsistent. You know, you never know what you're going to get in there.
So what you're looking for is consistency?
Well, sometimes it's super thick and creamy and flavorful, and sometimes the chicken is dry with no sauce, just an oily pasta chicken mess. That's his exact words. So,
I wish I was there when he got that dish, and I want to compare his reaction to bad food to your reaction to bad food.
Well, I don't review it afterwards. I feel like he might have been more.
But I want to be there when he got it to see his face, to see if if it's that wrinkle face.
It's possible. Oh, no.
The old wrinkle nose and head shake.
I can't do it. No. It's
so funny.
That's Sarah's favorite thing in the world. I feel like you guys give me gross food just to see me go, I'm not going to eat that. It's possible.
The wrinkle nose head shake is the greatest thing on earth.
You love that shit. You love when I'm just in hell.
It's your reaction to hell.
Yeah,
it's great. Obviously, I don't want you in hell.
No.
But I never want you not in hell if you're always going to react like that.
I can't help it. Because I don't yell, I don't get mad or freak out. I just go.
It's an internal freak out that manifests on your face.
I'm going to have to eat this now if I want to eat food. That's the freak out. Oh, no.
And there's no way to... There's no solution that's going to be good.
Nope. It's just, well, that's that. And that's what I do. I just check out on it. Well, there you Lunch was not successful, and I chalk it down to that, and I move on. That's all. Unsuccessful lunch. Hopefully dinner will be better.
Oh, God, it hurts so bad.
I still have hope, Jimmy, so you have to at least...
Your go-getter is crazy off the charts.
I'm trying. They kick me when I'm down, but I'm there, man. I keep popping back up again.
No, I'll pay for it, and I'll go try again.
I'll try. I will. I know it's me. It's fine. I know it's me.
I'll just stop at McDonald's on the way home. It's fine. It's fine. You just paid $40 to not eat. I want to treat you like the dealer in Vegas Vacation. Once. But whatever you were going to spend on lunch, let's go out back. I'll kick you in the nuts and we'll call it a day.
Yeah, forget it. You're not going to enjoy it anyway. Just get Subway and move on.
Just give me the money. I'll kick you.
At least you know what you're getting. Oh, my God. So anyway, this guy back. But I will say the spa chicken is good, but it's not very Italian. I never heard of that. Spa chicken. Rotelli's is a good Southern Italian restaurant, but the food is not the real deal. You're in rural South Carolina.
What are you looking for, man?
If I'm in rural South Carolina, I don't expect good Italian food. I just don't. When we go to Columbus, I don't expect good Italian food. When we go to fucking, Portland, I don't expect good Italian food. And they're decent cities. I'm just saying that there's cities with Italians and cities that don't have Italians. That's not one of them. So you're out.
This guy's from a city with a place called Little Italy, which is literally everything Italian.
That's it. So you're it's just not working. That's all there is to it. It's sorry. I mean,
you complain about their lobsters too, sir.
You're in what Paulie Walnut's called Elvis country. That's you're not going to get good Italian food, and you should realize that. Have the barbecue. I bet it's spectacular. That's my advice to you when you're down there. So, 2 stars here. Have lived here since 2005. The post office is awful and the mail delivery is unreliable. What is this, the 1800s? Quote, losing packages.
Oh, okay.
Shopping choices are very few and the grocery stores don't keep stock of everyday items. And this has been going on long before COVID. Restaurants are low quality, as we heard, and you can't even get a good pizza or ice cream. The road system is awful, and there just aren't enough roads and bridges. Forget shortcuts to avoid traffic because there really aren't any. Locals are rednecky and or fake Christians. Dirty, uninteresting little town, not even worth visiting.
Wow.
My God, they've lived here, but I've lived here for 17 years. I'm going to stay. Vanna White is apparently from here.
Is that right?
I guess so. Apparently she's from here. Population of this town, 26,620. So it's a good-sized area. More females than males by a decent chunk here. It's almost 53% female. There's a college here. So
got it.
When you got a college town, there's a lot of younger people. So the median age is 33 rather than 38. Not lower amount of married people. A lot of people single with children, though.
Really?
There's 24% single with children, and that's usually 10%. So, yeah, maybe going back to college or just that's why they're dropping out of college. I'm not sure. Yeah. Race of this town, 57.3% white, 38.2% black, 1% Asian, 0.1% Native American, which is a lot for the Southeast, actually. And, what is it? 2.3% Hispanic, which is much lower than 17% nationally. Religion of this town, and this is, I think because it's a college town, 42.6%, which we've in deep South Carolina, we've never had anything that low down here. But the majority of them are, of course, Of course, Baptist, 17% Baptist. So Baptists are, as we know, the Catholics of the South.
South, yeah.
No avoiding that. 0.0% Jewish, though. That's not happening here. So in this county, 33% voted Democrat in the last election, 66% Republican, 1% Independent. So, pretty clean sweep there. Economy here, little higher unemployment rate than the rest of the country.
Okay.
I don't know if that's the kids or what the deal is with that, but a little bit higher. The income is also low. Median household income is about $54,000 in the rest of the country. Here it's $35,000. So
Jesus.
A little bit on the low side for that. Cost of living, though, it's it's also a little bit low. 100 is average. Here it's 88 on cost of living. But the housing, median home costs $209,800. Which is lower than the rest of the country, but not great if you make $35,000 a year for the whole household. So if we've convinced you, damn it, Conway is the place for you. You want to hear Twitty all night long.
Yeah.
We have for you the Conway, Twitty, South Carolina Real Estate Report. All right, your average two-bedroom rental here goes for about $890 a month, which is cheaper than the national average. It's about $1,300 nationally. Here is a three-bedroom, two-bath, 1,411 square foot home. From the outside, it looks fine. Yeah. You're like, that's a nice little house. Let's open up the door and see what's going on inside. And then you see that the living room is caution taped off.
Oh, what happened?
The reason is there's no floor. Which is you need in a room. That's a part of a room that's important. So rather than just falling in a hole through the root cellar, it's a problem.
That's probably 40% of a room.
It's a lot. The floor is important. If I walk into a room, two things I want is a floor and a ceiling. I'll take walls too if we have those available, but a floor and a ceiling are necessary.
You bet.
Apparently not. It looks like there's some mold and some it's aggressive. It looks aggressive. There's wood just rotting away, pieces of the ceiling on the floor. I don't understand it, man. I don't get it. What happened inside? Like the poltergeist, like gutted it or something. I don't know what's going on. $90,000 for this though.
For an unlivable piece of shit.
Yeah, I guess the outside is fine. So what the hell? 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,300 square foot. It's a trailer. It's like a double wide kind of a manufactured home. Barely any windows in this place, which is weird. There's it's very kind of dark, but it's decent inside. Looks like it was remodeled actually, or it's a newer one or something like that. It looks like a park with like a picnic area and shit like that. But $129,900 for a very nice trailer. And then with no windows, a windowless trailer. It sounds worse that way. Yeah. Then I have a 4-bedroom, 4-bath T-bowl for each and every B-hole, baby. Yeah. 2,523 square feet, so nice, good-size house. Pretty newish. It's nice. It's a nice house. It's like decorated pretty ugly, but there's a lot of different there's like that what's it called? What's the wood that looks old? What's that called?
There's barn
distressed,
wood. Distressed wood,
It's shit like that. So that's all around it.
And that may not be like something that was just installed recently for like the new trend. That may be from the 70s.
We don't know. It's a newer house that's built in like the last 10 years. $559,000 for that, babe.
Wow.
You're going to pay for that shit. So you're paying a little bit. Now, things to do. We're going to buzz through these because there's not much to do here. The Horry County Museum Quilt Gala. Join us for the 28th annual Quilt Gala at the Horry Museum March 1st through March 24th. The museum will display quilts made by the Myrtle Beach Shorebirds. It's like a quilting club.
Yeah.
And the Conway Quilt Guild. Okay. They have a quilt guild. Wow. Each week, new quilts will be on display that will be awarded to local veterans in a special ceremony. Thank you for your service. Here's a quilt.
Here's a bunch of patches I sewed together.
What a strange, that's like Always Sunny in Philadelphia. The guy gets home and they got him jean shorts and he's like, okay, like that's what that is. So you got me. Thanks. I got a quilt now. Well, now I'm ready to get back into the world.
I can at least sit and enjoy the warmth on my legs.
Jesus. The mission of the Quilts of Valor Foundation, I mean, it's a nice sentiment, don't get me wrong, is to cover all service members and veterans touched by war with a comforting and healing quilt. Since 2003, the foundation, which is now a national organization, has awarded over 250,000 quilts across the U.S. Holy shit. That's a lot of quilts. Healing quilts.
Feels like you can't say that.
Healing quilts?
That feels...
Well, they're not selling them.
Yeah, but...
If they were selling them, they couldn't claim that. Maybe they put a little Neosporin on them. We don't know. Healing, in case you get like a burn at home, walking around the house, a little cut on your finger, you need to wrap yourself in this.
Is it like just the center of the Band-Aid they stitched all together with that?
A lot of them. A lot of them.
Shitloads of them.
Shitloads of them. That way they don't stick. So crime rate in this town, what we are interested in, property crime, college town, so not surprisingly, almost double the national average. That's a college town. That includes drinking and doing dumb shit in the streets. So violent crime, maybe the mug people are there too, or the mug-looking people. Violent crime, murder, rape, robbery, and of course assault. The Mount Rushmore of crime is about 20% high, so that's up a little bit too.
What the fuck, Conway?
Well, every college town you're going to get morons fighting because they're drunk. You're going to get way higher sexual assault ratio than the rest of the civilized country because, who's hornier than 21-year-olds and less responsible and more drunk and more aggressive, and has more testosterone going through their balls than that. So
they can barely control that when they're sober.
That's what I'm saying. So that said, let's talk about a murder, shall we? Because this is... my goodness here. What a goddamn story do we have for you today. A lot of this comes from this book, had great information here. An Hour to Kill, a true story of love, murder, and justice in a small southern town.
Love. Okay.
Which sounds exactly like small town murder in a nutshell.
Yeah, it does.
That title of the book, you go, well, I mean, it's by Dale Hudson and Billy Hills. So you go, yeah, that sounds like us. Why not? So let's start here on November 17th, 1991. Let's go back to this era. Cool. We're in cool as ice territory again.
Yeah, we are.
We talked about that. Was that Crime and Sports we talked about that on, I believe?
I think it was this,
I don't remember. Either way, this is Vanilla Ice is on the downswing here, and they're making movies, and they're not good. So,
and I watched it. It is not good.
Oh, isn't it great? Yeah, oh boy, it's something, isn't it? So Sunday, November 17th, 1991. It's a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And we got a couple of brothers, Lloyd and Willis Allen here. Okay. Willis is the older brother. Lloyd is the younger brother. They're both in their 20s, though. I mean, just kind of a couple of... This is rural too. This town has 25,000 people, and there's a college, but like the townies, I guess you could call it. It's rural, man. This is like, these are good. Everybody here. These are a lot of good old boys. And we'll have a quote about it later on where a Michael Jordan hat is found, a hat that has like a Nike 23 swoosh on it. Right. And they ask, like, does this belong to anybody? And all the kids laugh, and they're like, nobody gonna wear that around here.
What?
Like, they're like, what are you talking? And it's 1991. Where like. The Nike swoosh was the most, known thing there was, and Jordan was on every commercial, and I mean, you couldn't get away from him, for fuck's sake. They were singing like Mike, if I could be like Mike at this point, and they're like, ain't nobody's like that guy down here, like that. It's a different type of place. So
wow.
Lloyd and Willis are a couple of good old boys going out deer hunting today, and their whole family's been active in deer hunting for a long time too. This is like
November
generations.
of 91?
November 17th, 91.
We're like 4 months away from Michael Jordan representing these people in the Olympics.
In the Olympics, yeah. Nope.
Who's that guy?
We don't count the Summer Olympics as an Olympics, actually. We voted on it. We decided no.
Unbelievable.
So they go out hunting. It's 9:00 in the morning. They stop at the store. They get a soda, and 9 a.m. and you're going hunting, you want to get a corn dog also. So
stop it.
Yeah, this guy's eating a corn dog in the truck on the way to hunting. God. Corn dog and a soda at 9 a.m. is the fuel you need to kill things.
That corn dog is from yesterday.
Maybe it's fresh. Maybe it's just a fresh...
4 a.m. You think they're putting new ones on there?
Oh, no, it's 9 a.m. 9 a.m.
Oh, 9 a.m. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's 9 a.m. They're not getting up at 4 a.m., these two. 9 a.m.'s fine. The deer will still be there at 9.
You think a corn dog goes on at 9 a.m.?
No, I'm hoping. No, I certainly think it's from last night, but I'm hoping maybe they just put a fresh batch on. You know, maybe some drunks came through at 2 a.m. and wiped them out, so they had to put some new ones on. So they do it. They're going out to Collins Jolie Road, I guess, and they're just saying it's a nice day out here, and look at this, it's a good day for hunting and all this type of shit. I guess they turn the truck down a dirt lane leading to an open field where Lloyd was with his father the day before, and they saw signs of deer there. So they're like, oh, we think the deer are hanging out around here. So he says to his brother, keep your eyes open. And, they realize they're on a private area of land. So they're like, oh, shit, what are we going to do here? And then the guy driving, Lloyd, he just says, we're just looking. Who gives a shit? Let's keep going. So they ease along, the whole deal here down the road through the field. Yeah. And they're just looking. They're like really like in tune looking for deer. Any signs of deer in the trees kind of running away from the noise of the truck as, you'll see bushes move. And Lloyd said, quote, we were just looking. So that tells you exactly what it was. Yeah. So the Willis here, he's scanning the tree line and looking for everything, and the truck comes to a stop. And there's a dark spot in the road ahead of them. And Lloyd said, look at that. There's a big dark spot that looks like somebody shot a deer there. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, that makes sense. So they said, oh, shit, look at that. So they get out of the truck. They have to reach out of the window because the door's broken on the inside, the latch. Yeah. Yeah. So they have to do that. And Willis said, looks like somebody killed a deer here this morning. So they're like, okay, well, that's normal. There's deer here. So, so then they spot a blood trail as well. Yeah. So Willis said, quote, somebody must have shot one and he run off there in that ditch. Yeah. That was his quote, by the way.
He run off there.
And he run off. All the quotes I'm going to give you are exactly how they say it. I'm not just what's in the dialogue. I'm not going to try to make it more English. So they look like drag marks, which people will take a deer and bring it somewhere to whatever, to dress it. And it happens.
If a deer gets shot, sometimes they'll drag a leg or something, and you'll get some drag marks too. Sure.
Yeah, and you got to stalk behind them, I guess. That would be the thing. So they move forward, and Lloyd said, that's a quote, it's a damn lot of blood, isn't it? So they're looking at this big thing, and there's several small pools of fresh blood also that were near the center area. There's a lot of blood around here. So they keep walking, and Willis stops all of a sudden because he sees a shoe sticking up over the edge of a ditch.
Deer don't wear those.
So he stares at the shoe here, and he follows the shoe and sees an ankle. That's not good. Gets closer and sees that the ankle connects to a leg, which connects to the partially clothed body of a very mutilated person.
Oh, no. The shoe's still on the body?
Still on the body.
Jesus.
The body, it's on their side, this body is, and the one guy throws up. Willis throws up right there.
That's me.
Yeah.
Sure.
So,
God.
I mean, so he leaned forward, and his brother had the corn dog still and dropped his corn dog, because at that point, your appetite for corn dogs goes down the drain.
If it wasn't the dead body, it's the guy vomiting. I can't eat this now.
Yeah. So his brother, who's throwing up, said, it ain't no deer, Lloyd. It's a dead body. Yeah. And Lloyd says, man, you're lying to me. And comes over and takes a closer look, and he says, what the hell? Holy shit. And obviously it is a body. Lloyd said, oh, my God, do you think it might be a woman? And the Willis, who's throwing up, said, I don't know anything about that, man. I'm not even interested. Don't care.
Can't even tell.
Throwing up, basically. Yeah. Don't even care. So Lloyd's looking at the body and says, look at the shoe and the clothes. It's got to be a woman. And Willis says, dang, man, get away from that. He said, let's go. And they run to the truck. Lloyd is looking at all the blood and everything like that. And the hair seems to be matted on this woman. And there's cuts all over her face and body. No. And, he said he couldn't tell what color the hair was because there was so much matted dirt on it.
Jesus.
He said her lower abdomen, like by her stomach, had been cut open, and her insides were hanging out, basically, like a disemboweling.
Yeah.
And Lloyd said, Jesus, that person was butchered up like an animal. That's what he told his brother. So he said, come on, Lloyd, let's go. And then they start thinking, holy shit, whoever did this, that blood is pretty fresh. They might be around here. We better get the fuck out of here. Right. Meanwhile, they're two, grown rednecks with guns, but they're still like, we don't know. This whoever did this is a horrible person.
It's a sick human being.
It's a sick motherfucker. We need to get out of here. Hey, everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you about the safest sponsor ever, Simply Safe. Absolutely. These people will keep you safe. It's amazing. You know that every 26 seconds a burglary takes place in the United States, according to the FBI. That means that by the time this podcast is over, dozens and dozens of homes will have been targeted, ransacked. God knows what happens here. So protect your home before it's too late with Simply Safe proactive security system. Simply Safe helps stop threats before they even have a chance to break in. Named Best Home Security System by U.S. News and World Report 5 years in a row. And by us for about the last 8 years as well. If you trust us, believe me, you want Simply Safe. So visit simplysafe.com/small to claim 50% off a new system with professional monitoring plan and your first month free. That's simplysafe.com/small. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Now back to the show.
This show, Small Town Murder, is brought to you by BetterHelp. Get yourself some therapy, everybody. Honestly, here. We often hear about, red flags that you should avoid. Hey, that's a lot of a thing. It's become a real phrase now, real cliche. But why don't you focus also, you look at green flags in friends and partners. Look for good things as well.
Right.
And maybe you're not sure what that looks like, though. Therapy can help you figure that out. What are positive things? What are the green flags? And then you can practice them in your relationship. It's absolutely a fact. And so, honestly, we absolutely are huge advocates for this. It really, really helps. BetterHelp is fully online, making therapy affordable. It's convenient. They serve over 5 million people worldwide. You can access a diverse network of more than 30,000 credentialed therapists, wide ranges of specialties there. Here's the coolest part. You're not getting along with your therapist, you're just not feeling it, you can switch at any time, no extra charge.
Wow.
The thing is, they want you to get help. That's it. And you can do it with BetterHelp. Discover your relationship green flags with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/smalltownmurder today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/smalltownmurder.
Now back to the show.
So they get back to their sister's house, and they immediately go, call the police, holy shit, we found a body in the woods, hurry up, the killer might come back. They're freaking out, saying all sorts of shit. So they call at 9:10 a.m., 911 gets a call here. Before about 10 o'clock, a little before 10 o'clock, the cops show up at the trailer, and that's where Lloyd's sister lives. And,
An hour later,
Lloyd... Willis doesn't go. Willis, the one who was throwing up and didn't want any part of it back there, he stays back at the trailer.
Yeah, I would.
Lloyd, his sister, and Lloyd Sr. go back and show the cops where they found the body.
What?
I'd be like, I'll draw you a map.
Yeah.
I ain't going near that fucking place again.
Never
you think
again.
The cops would be, hey, let's not have 4 people traipsing around a crime scene. What do you say? Let's have maybe the one person who knows, and then we'll go there and we'll bring the crime scene unit. Something like that. So Willis, though, he remained in the bedroom and he didn't want any part of it. He later said, quote, I was too scared and had seen all that body in those woods I ever hoped to see. You go hunting all your life and you don't never see nothing like that. When I seen them guts hanging out, when I seen her split open like she was, I said to myself, Willis, whoever did this was sick. You know what I'm saying? Just very, very sick.
Yeah.
I love, by the way, when a man says to himself and then uses his own name to himself. You're talking to yourself, so you know who you're talking to, but you say, I said to myself, James? That's just so weird, isn't it? I love that that's a Southernism too, and I love it's charming to me. I find that I say to myself, Willis, I don't know what that is. It's
very warm and
it's
kind.
Something about it. Yeah.
Feels caring is what it is.
Yeah. So they obviously they're horrified. The police go, and we'll get to that later. But let's go back to the night before and meet some people. Okay, this is November 16th, 1991. So it's Saturday night.
Saturday night, yeah.
Saturday night, and it's teenagers are hanging out and partying, and just doing their teenage things that they're doing. This is nothing like we had in Kansas a couple weeks ago, where we had like a scumbag in a trailer who buys booze for kids. This isn't like that. These are kids without some predator, outside adult predator, on them. So first of all, let's talk about Johnny, Johnnie. That's his legal name.
Say again.
Johnnie. Sorry. Joh, John Nee.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Johnny Kenneth Register II. So here he is, boy. Yeah, we know what that means, crime and sports people, I know. You see a junior or the second, it's something bad's going to happen to him, or he'll be doing something bad, one of the two. So Johnny Kenneth Register II is 18 years old, and, he goes to high school. He went to high school here. He graduated in June, so he's done with high school now. But he knows a lot of people in the area, obviously, so he's hanging out. This particular night, he's with his girlfriend, Tammy.
Okay.
Now, Tammy is a little bit younger than him. I think she's 15 or 16 or something, which, it's a little much for me, but it's fine sometimes, I guess. Now, Tammy lives next door to the go-kart track.
Okay.
And her family works at the go-kart track, I guess, too.
Do they own it?
I don't think they own it, but I think they do like bookkeeping there and stuff like that. So they're
cool.
They're go-kart track people. So now Tammy, Kenneth doesn't like, or Ken is his name. Johnny Kenneth Register, they call him Ken. So Ken doesn't like it when Tammy goes to the track by herself, though, because it's all boys there. It's all a bunch of, so it's all that. So he doesn't want her going by herself. She lives next door to the track. Her family worked there, but she still would do that.
Is it bring your own go-kart, or is it like they got their own go-karts?
They do
there,
races.
You know what I mean?
No, it's it's a racetrack. Yeah. It's not like a putt-putt with a thing. It's like guys show up with I put all my money into this race.
Yeah, built this in my garage. Watch how fast I go.
And now they're racing for $30 or whatever it is. I don't know what they're up to, but either way, Ken is upset this night. They're at the track together, but apparently Tammy recently went to the track and didn't wear his ring, which she wears his ring because they're going steady and all, you know?
Yeah.
So,
so she was single for a minute.
Well, I mean, he didn't like that. And, but I mean, she's a fucking, they've been going out for about a year now, but she said that she lives next door to the track. This is her place here. This is, she's here all the time. This is where her and her friends hang out. So it's, you can't really tell the girl that you can't go to the place you go all the time. That's pretty weird. So, either way, this particular night, Ken is cold. It's chilly. It's warm during the day, but chilly at night in South Carolina. So he only has a T-shirt on and he's cold. And he's like, let's get out of here. And she's like, if you don't want to stay, you can stay. You can go. That's okay. My friend Misty came over. She came by herself, and she wants me to ride home with her anyway. So, it's perfectly all right. He said, no, you rode here with me. I'll take you home. I'll stay as long as you want. Yeah. This is crazy. I'm not doing that shit. Now, Tammy's house, you can see it from the track. It's right next there. Fucking door. Yeah. So, she doesn't need that. And her family's there, too. So how much of an escort does this girl need? How many people
how many
need to take her home?
Does she need on her at all times?
That's what I mean.
Jesus.
Go walk home with your dad. What are you talking about?
Right.
He'll protect you. So, but she never walked to or from the track at night, though, because they said it's dangerous because it's a country road. She could get hit by a car. Sure, it's dark out there, not a lot of street lights. So she said, I'd rather stay and be bored. She said her curfew's 11 o'clock. She's only 14, by the way, and he's 18.
No.
Which is a giant no right away.
Absolutely not.
Again, is that regional? Is that
I don't know what that is. I don't
know what that is.
Gross is what that is.
When my daughter was 14, if an 18-year-old boy came over, he would have walked away like Donald Duck or Daffy Duck we talked about with his beak on backwards. That shit is not happening. I'm telling you that right now.
And how does he not have any friends that are like, dude, no? Because remember when you were
14?
You know what I mean? As a freshman, I remember girls that would be like dating, quote unquote, dating a senior, and that guy looks like an idiot. He looks like an idiot.
This guy already graduated. He's not even a senior.
Way worse. Yeah.
This is Matthew McConaughey in Dazed and Confused, and he's going out with the freshman chick who's coming in. That's you can't do that. No, this is bad stuff.
That's illegal.
So, she said, I'll ride home with her. And he said, no, I'll take you home and all this sort of thing. So she said, though, her curfew, if she's at the track, she's allowed to stay out past 11 because her family's there. So she's like, if I go home, then it's curfew. If I stay out, then I can stay out for a while longer. Yeah. And he said, well, it's already ready after 11 now. I'll just stay here with you. And his curfew wasn't until 12:30, even though he's 18 years old, he's got a curfew.
His curfew is whenever the fucking shift ends, sir.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
If you're
an
late,
adult.
Then, yeah.
You're a goddamn adult. What are you talking about?
Go home when you go home.
So anyway, it's 12:30 is his curfew, so he can stay out later. But, he's cold, and she's like, well, maybe we'll go, but basically she's like, well, I think there's only a couple more races. Let's stay for a couple more races. And then one comes up and he says, this might be the last race. So we'll stay through this. So they stay through the race and, all that shit. And then another race gets to starting and she's like, well, I guess it wasn't the last race. And he's like, he goes, can we just go now? Can we go? We thought it was the last race. And she says, sure, go ahead if you want.
Yeah.
Have a good one. She said, I'm staying. You can go. And she said, I'm going to go tell my daddy that I'll be here. And she walked away. So there you go. Now he'd been racing his boat with friends at the river landing that day. Jesus. That's what Ken was up to. I guess it was really warm that day. So he somehow got a shitload of sunburn in November.
Okay. And
so he's freezing
at night.
Now he's freezing. Yeah. That's the South. Yeah. The weather in the South. That's the big myth people get. And this isn't anything about whatever culture or any shit like that. This is purely weather. You can't help it. But people act like you go down there for the good weather. What fucking good weather? It's 103 with 100% humidity, or it's freezing. Those are the only options down there. I've been down south plenty. It goes from winter to hot and you can't breathe like that over fucking night. It's hard weather.
That's the hot that's like, what? When you can't, when you literally, like Atlanta. And
Matthew Broderick in Biloxi Blues when he's like, he's looking around like, he can't even process it, how hot it is. I don't understand how it's this hot. It's one of those. It's rough.
It hurt. You can't breathe. And not being able to breathe outside is crazy.
It's hard. Oh, my dad lived in North Carolina. It would snow a foot in the winter. And then in the summer, by March, it was 89 degrees and humid out. And you're like, holy shit, this place is unforgiving.
What fucking nice weather.
Wow. So anyway, that's what he did. So he also made a stop at his house to shower after this, and he grabbed his shotgun, where he picked up Tammy, because before going to the go-kart races, they were heading off to a turkey shoot.
Okay.
I didn't know is that like a dance? Is that like a dance in a rural area? Having us a turkey shoot tonight. It's a potluck.
Isn't that called turkey hunting? Like, what do you?
I don't know. He said he wasn't in the mood for shooting, but a friend had asked that they drop by, so he did. So anyway, they went back to Tammy's house, and they were watching television and sitting with Tammy's mom. But then Tammy wanted to go to the track, so he was like, okay. And then they went to the track. That's how the night ended up happening. So he didn't even want to be at the track.
Yeah, he just wanted to race a boat and shoot turkeys.
Shoot turkeys and then come back and sit at her house. So either way, she ends up finding her aunt, who's working there doing the bookkeeping at the time. Yeah. And Tammy says, quote, tell Daddy I'm going to stay and ride with Misty. And, her aunt said, well, isn't Ken here? And she said, yeah, but he's cold and I'm going to.
Yeah, but he's shivering with that sunburn.
He's being a little bitch. You know how he is.
His skin's on fire, but he's shivering. It's weird.
It's real weird. It's weird. He's hot to the touch, but he is just teeth a chattering, boy. Let me tell you what. So, anyway, the aunt's like, are you two fighting? And she said, no, we're not fighting. No. I just don't want to go yet. And she said, he's just being Ken. That was her line.
Oh, so he's kind of a dick.
So apparently Ken's kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And so her aunt says, I'll tell him, but we're fixing to get real busy tallying up. So, if I don't see him, keep an eye out. And that was that. So Tammy found Ken talking to a friend of his through, by a fence over there hanging out. She comes up and he says, now can we go? Like loudly.
Yeah.
And people are like, what the fuck? So then he says, you want to go? Like, shit, my bad. She says, well, it's the last race, now. So I'm going to watch the last race. And she said, she said, I'm going to stay, but I want you to go on and get warm, she says to him. You go ahead.
Huddle by a fire or something.
And then kind of started, put her arm around his and started taking him kind of to the parking lot. Like, come on, your car's this way. Like a drunk getting let out of a bar here.
Yeah.
Like, no. It's much more fun out here. Come here.
Yeah.
Oh, no, there's so many girls outside. Yeah, it's going to be great out here. Come on, I'll show you. So they get toward the parking lot, and I guess he does stuff in church. So he's got a lot of church things. She said to him, quote, you're going to be so handsome in the morning leading the music, and you don't need to catch a cold now. So, go on home. And he said, I'll watch the last race, and then we'll go together. This is crazy. So they've just been going back and forth about this. We should have just sat down, shut the fuck up, buy a cup of coffee, and just nut it out. What are we talking about here?
It's time to go. Until then, shut up.
Yeah, what are we doing? So anyway, the race goes. The race is over. There we go. They start going toward the car, and she said, well, I'll wait with you as your car warms up. You don't need to give me a ride next door. I'll stay with here, and that way I can stay out later. So he unlocked her door, and then, he got into his seat and all that kind of shit, and he's cold and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, she's in the car with him, and they're kind of, kissing a little bit and sort of, stuff like that, making out, I guess you could call it. And nothing, heavy, but
just
light
doing
petting.
Shit.
Light petting, which is highly illegal, I'm sure. Just a little illegal light petting, that's all. Little law-breaking light petting. No misdemeanor petting, we'll call it.
Just an adult making out with a child, that's
all. Just an adult making out with a fucking girl who was in 8th grade, like fucking, 4 months ago. So that's fine. Anyway, the way this is all going, they kiss a little bit. They make they talk a little more. They make plans for the next day. And, because he's had a busy day. In addition to the boat racing and turkey shooting, he also spent the whole morning putting the finishing touches on an altar that he and his father had built for the local church as well.
God.
It's a small church, 35 members, little tiny church. And basically him and his dad scrubbed the floors of the church, made preparations to lead the music for the next day in service. And, he had a big church day because Sunday is going to be the big unveiling of the new, altar or whatever.
It's the busiest Saturday I've ever heard of.
It's no wonder why he wanted to leave.
I'd be tired too.
If you did all this church work, built an altar, was out on a boat all day enough to get sunburned in November, and then went turkey shooting, you'd be like, yeah, I'm not into the go-karts tonight, babe. Sorry. But
yeah, you go. I'll be back here.
You also, you gotta do what people kind of go along with the flow here, You wrinkle up your face, don't like it like it's a sandwich with mayonnaise on it, and then don't eat it. That's all.
That's how you keep your childhood girlfriend.
That's how you do it. Or her childhood, not your childhood.
Yeah, your girlfriend who's still in her childhood.
Yeah, you're her childhood boyfriend at this point. She's your adult molestee. That's how this works now.
She's going to look back fondly at this, but also have therapy because of it.
It's not, yeah. When she brings it up, the therapist is going to make that wrinkly nose face like there's mayonnaise on the sandwich and go, ooh, that's 18-14. I don't like that.
Not good. Not good at all.
So Tammy gets out of the car, walks back to the track. Ken watches, makes sure she gets back to her cousins are waiting there. So sees that she gets back to them safely, and he pulls away and pulls off into the night air here. Yeah. It's only 11:15. He doesn't have to be home till 12:30. Right. So he's gonna decide he's gonna go drive around for a while, but he'll end up home.
You got a big church day tomorrow morning.
Yeah, but you know what? Windows open, I guess, or windows closed, heater on, I suppose.
He's freezing.
But as a teenager, though, by 18, though, when you're working and shit, you want to go home. But, like, I get the 14-year-old not wanting to go home.
No.
When you're that age, you want to stay out as much as you can.
Right.
So even if it's just to watch people disassemble their go-karts, you're like, great. It's better than sitting in my room. So next up, let's enter Crystal Faye Todd.
Okay. What is
She's 17. By the way, Crystal is the most 80s, 90s name that's ever existed for a girl. It's Crystal and Heather are the two that you would be named.
I think Crystal has stopped, by the way.
It has. It has.
Has it? Good.
Crystal,
Good.
I have not heard of there is not a woman under 40 named Crystal in this entire country. I'm sure of it. I'm positive of it. Right?
It better be.
It doesn't exist. It just doesn't exist.
That better be a fact, because that's a bad. I don't think I've met Jesus. I don't think I have. I haven't met a girl.
I haven't met Jesus either.
Yeah, I don't think I've met a girl named Crystal that didn't have a giant problem.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about that. I know my grandmother had a poodle named Crystal. That's my only Crystal memory of anybody I know. She gave it away while my aunt was at school, and then my aunt was like, "Where's the dog?" and was crying, and she goes, "I gave it away. Shut up!" And my aunt wasn't allowed to be sad about it. I
probably gave it away because it was addicted to meth. Because that's
Not like other Crystals, it wasn't. But this particular dog was a nice dog, and my grandmother just had no empathy for things like that. And then I found out that she was, she hid from fucking Nazis in a hole. And I was like, all right, well, you know what? She had no patience for childhood bitching. She really didn't. It's that joke I do about me being upset about my TV, and she tells me, when I was a little girl, we used to hide so the Nazis wouldn't rape us. And I was like, oh, my, okay. Not as bad of a problem.
Just adjust the bunny ears? All right,
I'll take care of that. So be cool with not having a TV. Great, thank you. So Crystal Faye Todd. She's a real nice girl, Crystal Faye, actually. Yeah. She's not your average Crystal.
All right.
I'll say here. She's 17 years old.
Breaking the mold.
She's a good kid. Her mom describes her like this, quote, "Don't get me wrong." That's when you start out. It weren't all good times for Crystal. This is her mother's exact phrasing. Her daddy was sick when she was a little old bitty thing, and she helped take care of him. She watched him die, It was so bad, I had to take her to the doctor and get something on account of her nerves. She had a sick uncle and got a sick grandma, too. She lives next door. Crystal hauled them back and forth to the doctor for me. Both of them was crippled up real bad. That's...
Wow. She's doing the most for her family.
That's what I mean. When I say Crystal's a nice kid, she's like taking care of older people. She's got it. She's not a flake at all, Crystal.
No, by any family together.
By any stretch. Her mom said, quote, she likes everything clean. She'd clean the house all the time, did the quote, the cooking, the washing, and the mopping. She even cut the grass, her mom said.
What?
All the time. She said she always acted like she always wanted to do these things. She never liked for her mom to smoke, especially in Crystal's car. Oh. She didn't want her car to smell like smoke. She said, quote, if I did, she'd clean out the ashtray right when we got home. She ain't gone with boys that smoke either.
Okay.
So we have an idea of Crystal. Nice kid, hard worker, takes care of the family, ain't go with no boys that smoke.
She hates cigarette smoke. She may not.
Does not.
Yeah. It's not necessarily the type of person. Yeah.
No.
It's just a smell. She hates
She likes it. She's a clean. She likes clean things and stuff like that. Crystal had been without a car for a while here. She had some problems, Crystal. And this is so because Christ, as a kid, you do this. It's dumb, but people do it. So. Yeah. She crashed her car into a telephone pole 3 months earlier and was arrested and charged with driving under the influence of alcohol.
Yeah.
She had a couple of beers and that sort of thing.
Yes.
Now, she went to a party and had a couple of beers. I'm sure a plastic cup was $3, and she got a couple of sips off the keg.
Right.
She got her $3 worth, and she's a stand-up chick, though, Crystal, because the cops told her that she could become an informant and tell them who was serving teenagers and all of this shit, and they would drop the DUI charge on her, and she said, I'm not a rat, she said, and wouldn't. She literally said, I won't rat on my friends, and so she took the fucking heat for everybody. That's a stand-up person, just bottom line. So the charge was ultimately reduced to minor possessing alcohol, which she held her ground, and that's what she got, reduced charges. So good for her. She lost her driver's license for a few months because of this. It was just a suspension.
90 days.
She got it back 4 days prior to this Saturday night that we're talking about now.
She got it on Wednesday.
Got it on Wednesday, and she's got a nice car too, by the way. She has very prideful about the car. She's got a metallic blue 91 Toyota Celica.
Oh, I was going to guess a Laser, but that's a great car.
It's a cool car. Yeah. So she's got that, and with the personalized license plate, C. Todd.
Oh,
so
look at her.
She's got it set. She's
doing it.
Yeah. Dude, she's did she get in that car, fucking sitting in that seat? That feels good as a teen. That would feel awesome. I never had a car that was anywhere near new, but
what year was that car? It was a 91. It's brand
this is a
new.
91. Yeah, this is in 91.
I think brand new Celica with her name on the plate. She's hot
amazing.
As shit. Yeah,
that's good. Yeah, she's psyched too. She's ready to go out. She's got. This is the first weekend she's had a driver's license in months too. So she's like, yeah, gonna go out and have a good time with my friends. So on this Saturday, she had an early dinner with her mother's family in the town of Marion, and then she was going to hang out with friends and find something to do. It's a Saturday night. And as a kid, I remember just leaving your house at like 4:30 on a Saturday afternoon. You don't know where you're going or who you're going to, but you're going to find people and a thing that's happening. And by the end of the night, you have found things to do.
You were gonna call 3 people, find out where they're at. You're all meeting together, and then from there, we don't fucking know.
Who knows? But you are going to leave the house. That's one thing you're doing immediately, as soon as possible.
We're going to start at Jamba Juice, Peter Piper, something like that.
Peter Piper.
That's where we meet.
That's a pizza place,
lots.
by the way. Yeah. Parking lots are where you meet. So now there's not a lot of organized activities around here. There's not a lot of shit for teenagers to do.
Yeah.
There's not a mall. There's not you know what I mean? There isn't a lot to do. So they would eat. There's a local, like a little diner where they would eat. There's a mall a few miles away, but that's not like right here. And if you want to hang out late at night, the mall closes at 9, so that's not going to work. There is a kind of a little loop around the mall where kids would cruise around, just drive around in circles and look for people and shit like that. But so she ends up figuring out about a little party that's going on about a friend of hers. A friend of hers is having. Yeah. So she calls up her best friend, Carla, and she says, yo, Carla, there's a party. You want to go to this party? She's going to pick Carla up at work. Carla works at the mall. She's going to pick Carla up. Now, Crystal had planned to meet with her cousin, but that fell through, so he started hanging out with other friends, forgot to call her. So she also didn't receive a call that night from a boy she started dating recently, also named Jimmie. So she's like, well, this sucks. But she said that, maybe somebody else, maybe I'll have a good night anyway, talk to my friends. So they're going to go out to a party with some of, I guess she was supposed to go to a party with aviation school trainees, apparently. So I don't know. Yeah, I guess so. That was the original plan. But then they found out about a Dana's Pond House. Some girl has a house by the pond and is having a party.
All right.
So, they said, I didn't think they basically, like, there had been parties. This place had gotten trashed, and they said, no more parties. This girl wasn't going to have any anymore, but now she's decided that she's going to have a party again. So
trash it one more again. Let's go.
Let's do it here. They were told, by the way, that it's a select group of people. Yeah. No, they can't bring all your friends, nothing crazy, which as teenagers, that means 700 people will show up. So it's impossible. I'm going to this party, but I can't tell you about it. Come on, tell me. I won't go. Of course you won't.
I'm following you. I'll follow your taillights. I'll make it.
And then they'll tell everyone else, too. So Crystal said, yeah, right, I guess so. I got my car back. I guess we'll go. That's where everybody's going to be. And, there you go. So let's do it. So anyway, she called Carla's mom. Carla calls her mom. Carla's mom says 11:15. You got to be home. So that's the curfew. They sit on a couch the entire time, Carla and Crystal, and make small talk at the party. So nobody's really in a partying mood, I would say. Carla's boyfriend is there as well, hanging out as well. There's about 50 people there. Crystal's very excited about having her car back, and so she's psyched about that. Then a guy shows up named Sammy.
Yeah.
Sammy's the guy she likes, another guy she likes. He arrives at the party that Crystal likes.
Yeah.
He arrives at the party with another girl.
Oh, boy.
So she's like, damn it. So I guess they had been on and off for a couple of years, Crystal and Sammy. Basically the way the book puts it is that had her heart broken by him several times. It was just one of those.
Yeah.
Yep. Charming guy, but basically hooked up with Crystal when it was convenient, is the way they put it. They'd have some sex, that sort of thing. Then he would ignore her, and, he's a dick.
Yeah.
He's a dick who doesn't realize how valuable sex is.
Playboy Sammy.
Yeah, he's Sam Malone over here, Sammy from Cheers. Thinks he's hot shit here. So Carla, of course, being Crystal's best friend, hates Sammy with a searing passion.
You know how many times I've had conversations with her about you fucking jerk?
How many times we sat at Denny's while she cried because of you fucking jackass? I've eaten so many bad French fries, it's not even funny.
So many curly fries.
So many.
Mushed them into my face.
Good God. So Crystal then would say, I know, you're right, I won't see Sammy. And the next thing you know, she's hanging out with Sammy. So it's that relationship. So Sammy ignored Crystal all through this party. Yeah. Wouldn't even acknowledge her presence. So, Carla's getting mad. Sammy's on a date, so he's not going to acknowledge Crystal. So at one point, the girl who is with Sammy sits down between Crystal and, sits down on the couch next to Crystal. She didn't know anything. She doesn't know that they were hooked up. Yeah. So Sammy waves that girl over, and she gets up and walks over to him like, don't sit next to her. Yeah. Shit, I don't want you to know about any of that shit.
I don't want either of you talking about me.
Yeah. So just before 11, Crystal's like, all right, whenever you want to go, Carla, let's get the fuck out of here. It's getting close to your curfew anyway. So they walk out and they drive off, basically. There you go. So Crystal turns into the mall parking lot just about 11:15 and drops Carla off at her car. And that way she'll be home by 11:30. So, that was it. Carla says, what are you going to do now? Crystal says, I don't know. Maybe I'll get something to eat or, find something to do for a little while. Yeah. I don't have to be home till 12:30, so I don't want to be home yet, basically.
I've got my car. I'm out. Yep. I'm having a great time.
She said, I have my car back. I don't want to do that. And then her friend was like, you're not going to that party, are you? Tell me you're not going back to the party to try to talk to Sammy. And she said, I promise I won't go back to the party to try to talk to Sammy. I swear to God. She goes, no, I'll probably go try to get something to eat. I'm sure I'll run into somebody and have somebody to talk to. Yeah. Don't sweat it. So her friend says, be careful. And Crystal says, I only had one beer. I'm good. I'm not going to, crash in any poles or anything like that. Okay. So there you go. Crystal waited. Carla got in her car, started it, drives away. Okay. All right. Everybody's fine now. Hey, everybody. Just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you about a healthy, delicious item, Hero Bread. And we're both trying to get healthier this new year. Jimmie had a eye-opening doctor's appointment and things like that. Yeah. So we're trying to get healthier. And I'm telling you right now, this Hero Bread is a good step in this direction. It's delicious, and it is really good for you, and it's really excellent. They have the sliced bread is good, the bagels, the tortillas. I know you've been
they're terrific.
Ranting about the tortillas. They're so good. With Hero Bread, you can focus on your health goals and still indulge in the soft, fluffy experience you love, but guilt-free. I really love the little Hawaiian rolls, too. Yeah. They're so good. The Hawaiian rolls, they're legit. They're fluffy. Yeah. They're exactly how you want them to be. You'd never know it's low-carb and high-fiber bread from the texture. You get the soft, fluffy experience you know and love with your savory breakfast sandwich, late-night grilled cheese, Taco Tuesday. Do it. Yeah. No compromises, just flavor, ultra-low net carbs, 0 grams of sugar, high in fiber. It's fantastic. Hero Bread is offering 10% off your order. Go to hero.co and use the code SmallTownMurder at checkout. That's SmallTownMurder at HERO.co.
And now back to the show.
Hey, everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show and tell you all sorts of good stuff about Chime. That's what I'm talking about. There's so many extra fees you have to pay in life. Everything. You go to the airline, there's an extra ticket on that. There's extra fee on every fees and fees, hotels, fees, all this type of stuff. We're trying to make progress, and the next thing you know, here comes another fee coming at you, and it's more money than you expected, and your whole math is thrown off, and it's awful. Learn more at chime.com/smalltownmurder. Chime is great with that stuff. I mean, you can't beat if your things are a little tight, especially around the holidays or after the holidays. You need that money a couple days early, or you go grocery shopping. You got a car payment due. There's so many things that don't cross over exactly how you want them to cross over. Make progress toward a better financial future with Chime. Open your account in 2 minutes at chime.com/smalltownmurder. That's chime.com/smalltownmurder. Feels like progress. Banking services and debit cards provided by Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A., members FDIC. Spot me eligibility requirements and overdraft limits apply. Boosts are available to eligible Chime members enrolled in Spot Me and are subject to monthly limits. Timing depends on submission of payment file. Fees apply at out-of-network ATMs.
And now back to the show.
Crystal pulls off and drives away into the night here. Anyway, now Crystal here, by the way, we'll talk about this in a minute here. 3:30 a.m. She's still not home. Crystal is the problem. 3:30 a.m. Yeah. 3:30 a.m. Her mom, Bonnie Faye, it's Crystal Faye and Bonnie Faye. Bonnie Faye calls 911 at 3:30 a.m. and says, "You got to help me, please. You got to help me find my daughter." She's very upset. Yeah. She's in a whole tizzy here about this whole thing.
She's been arrested for wrecking her car, and this is her first weekend back with the car. Obviously a little bit of trust is gone. I'm terrified. I'm worried.
Something happened. Maybe she's wrapped around another telephone pole. Right. That's what happened last time, and it's a rural area. Nobody maybe saw her. She could be bleeding out in a car somewhere. We don't know. So they said that she was so panicked on the phone that they couldn't even tell if it was a male or female caller. They couldn't even make out like anything that was going on. Somehow in the panic, she said, "My daughter went to a party tonight and she ain't come home yet." Okay. That's the line on the recording. So she said she was with her friend, Carla Allen. They said, "When's the last time you saw your daughter?" She said they went to a party together and they left and drove back to the mall at about 11:15 so Carla could get her car. Then my daughter drove off, and that's the last time anybody's seen her. So, she goes on to say, "I called Carla. She ain't seen her. I called her friend, Ken Register, and he ain't seen her neither." And they said, "Ma'am, what's your daughter's name?" And she said, "She's driving her brand new car that I give her."
And say, what's her name?
Yeah. So they say they think she has a hearing problem because she's not answering questions. They say loud and slow, "What kind of car is it, ma'am?" Like clearly. And she said, "It's a blue, new, one of them Toyota Celicas. I just got it for her as a graduation present. She's got her name on the back of it, on the license plate. It says C. Todd." So, So the guy says, "Hold on, Mrs. Todd? Mrs. Bonnie Faye Todd? Is this you?" Yeah. She says, "Yeah." And he goes, "This is Mike Hill. Remember me? I taught Crystal piano when she was just a little bitty thing."
All right.
You call the 911 operator and they know you?
But enough with the reunion. No, who gives a fuck? Get the police and find my daughter.
And then he goes on to say, "Remember, she wanted to play for the church." And she says, "Oh yeah, Mike. Well, good. I'm sure glad I got somebody I know," which would make you feel better. Yeah. It's somebody that you know. They might actually give a shit to find your kid. Although you would hope that missing child, the police would immediately take that seriously.
Regardless. Yeah.
Who knows? She said, though, "I'm sure glad I got somebody I know. I'm worried sick about Crystal. Do you think you can help me find her?" She said, "I drove everywhere and called them all and ain't nobody seen her." She said, "I just know something has happened to her. And if she's dead or something, I'll kill myself." Oh, God. So he says, now, Bonnie Faye. Her name is Bonnie Faye, by the not just Bonnie. Let's not get carried away. Let's not get carried away. Bonnie Faye sounds like a country song.
It does.
Let's not get carried away. Bonnie Faye, I don't love her. I love you. Since I met you.
And the 911 operator jotted that down. I'm going to write that song later because I teach pianists.
He's like, hold on. Wait a minute. I can submit it to Conway Twitty.
Hold on, Bonnie. I got a good one.
He said, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
That's what he starts. I'll tell you what.
Boy.
As soon as she comes home, call me, and I'll see if a patrolman can come out there, and we'll give her a good scare just in case she ever thinks of pulling a stunt like this again.
This is what he says?
That's what he said. And she said, would you, Mike? Oh, that'd be so nice.
No, you're lying. What?
He said, I will, Bonnie Faye. And he said, hoping that would be that. He said, I'm going now, but you give me a call back when she comes in, you hear?
No.
Doesn't take any kind of report.
No, I
just
said find her.
A little back and forth, and then we'll scare the tar out of her. And what are you talking about?
What happened? How did this go from her being panicked to him calming her down and saying, don't worry, she'll be there in a minute? You don't know.
Call me. I just said, I don't know where she is. Did you miss that part at all? What the fuck are you talking about?
She's been missing for 4 hours. She left the mall parking lot. Nobody's heard or seen from her. Don't worry. You call me back later. What?
All right. And he even said, I'm going to go now, is what he said.
I'm hanging up now.
He said, I'm going now, but you give me a call back when she comes in, you hear?
No.
No, you're going to
now.
stay on the line. What are you talking about? You're going to tell me that you're sending an officer over and we're going to take a report and we're going to figure it out. He says, everybody knows Crystal, Miss Bonnie, and she's a good girl. She's not the type to get involved with trouble or somebody up to no good.
What? No, sometimes it's not her choice. What are you talking about?
She thanked him and hung up the phone.
Wow.
Rather than going, you're terrible at your job. Can you pass me to someone who doesn't know my daughter? So maybe they'll just take this as a missing person and not offer to put some country wisdom into her when she gets home later. What are we talking about?
Some fucking scared straight shit? No.
Yeah. Let's find her first, then talk about that.
Don't worry. She'd never go and get murdered or nothing. What?
Yeah, like everybody else. She's the type to go off and get murdered. I've never heard... It's never been a quote on our show. Well, she's the type to go off and get murdered. I expect that from her. No one's the type,
I cannot believe that was this guy's reaction to this. Is that you, Bonnie Faye? Oh, don't you worry.
Don't you worry yourself a damn thing. Don't worry a hair on your little head. She hung up the phone and was like, all right, bye. So she made several more. Back to phone calls. Okay. She's investigating herself. She's not going to just go, I'll wait till she gets home. She's calling all of Crystal's friends, anyone she has a phone number for, and becoming desperate every time she hears, nope, last time I saw her was at the party at 11 o'clock. That's what everybody says. Finally, about 8 a.m., she called 911 again.
Yeah.
And this time she said, quote, I can't take it no more. Why won't you do something? I'm about to go crazy for worry. She ain't home yet, and I know somebody's got her somewhere, and she's dead. I know she's dead. This is a different dispatcher. Yeah. So he's like, name? I don't even know what you're talking about at all.
I don't play piano.
Address? I don't know. So the morning guy, Wade Petty is his name. He drove out to, the dispatcher asked this guy, Wade Petty, a uniformed officer with the county police, to drive out to the house and talk to her. Yeah. So she is overdue for several hours, but there's no missing persons report could be filed here. They could do that. That'll help, I guess, but,
They don't do it. They have to, right? Because she's a child.
No, they
do.
17. That's what I mean. Okay. Yeah, she
right.
can. They can do that. So this police officer, heads out toward that direction to go talk to her. They arrive at the residence. This is from the book, a description of the Todd residence. Okay. Quote, a gray trailer home with lattice underpinnings, which we've described millions of times.
So
this is the cop's notes. He noted no visible signs of disrepair, although the house looked like it was more than 20 years old. The yard was small and bordered on the front by a 6-foot drainage ditch down each side of a hodgepodge of shrubs. On the front side of the house was a narrow wooden porch. Less than 50 feet away, adjacent to the trailer house, was an older, weathered farmhouse, partially shaded by 4 huge oak trees. The farmhouse had an open front porch with 2 red wooden couches. Red wooden couches? That's a bench. A wooden couch is called a bench. Yeah. Last time I checked, is it not?
I know the ones they're talking about, but
it's
a picnic table construction couch. It's those things.
Let's all make a deal. Cushions make a couch. Let's say that. Everything else is a bench. Can we all make that deal so we know what we're all talking about at all times?
Yeah. Upholstery makes a couch.
Yeah, upholstery.
Otherwise,
just something.
It's a bench.
It's a fucking bench at that point. Wow. A hand-cranked water pump rose from a 4-inch black pipe. Behind the house, Officer Petty could see a converted barn sheltering a rusty automobile, and directly behind that, an old splintered, broken-through tobacco barn. Yeah. An old white dog, positioned to soak in the morning sun, lifted his head and briefly eyed the officer. That's right from the book.
What kind of car is it? Is it for sale?
So it might be. It might be a find.
Let's go get it.
Let's pick it up, man. So Bonnie Faye describes Crystal, 17 years old, brown hair, blue eyes. She said she's about 5'3", about 115 pounds, little, you know. She said she's wearing blue jeans, some kind of print on her shirt, brown shoes, white socks, you know, teenager stuff.
The Southern uniform, yeah.
Yeah, had a brown leather jacket with her, driving her car.
Yep.
Said they called her girlfriends, or she said, I called her girlfriends, are all eager to help, and they are all, you know, they all are out right now driving around places looking for her. Like the teenage girls are all over the place. Crystal has a million friends. Everybody likes Crystal, by the way. So people are willing to go out at 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning and go search for her, which is great. Yeah. They did say that the officer said he remembered seeing a metallic blue Toyota parked in the schoolyard earlier that morning, like the parking lot of the school. And he hadn't seen anything suspicious about it, but he didn't see anybody in it either. So... at 9:15, the phone rang. Bonnie Faye runs inside and says, it might be Crystal, you know, which, yeah, fair. So anyway, she comes back a few minutes later, and a blue Plymouth Sundance pulls up.
Yep.
And this is who Bonnie Faye's been waiting for. She says, here he is. That's one of Crystal's best friends. I just bet he can help us find Crystal. And it is a sunburned young man with sandy blonde hair steps out. It's Ken Register. And he says, hi, I'm Ken Register. He says, I was on my way to church, and I'm a friend of Crystal's here. So what's up with this? Now, he's a little more than friends with Crystal, too, actually, because they have they've dated in the past.
A little more age-appropriate relationship.
Yeah, he's 18, 17. That's fine. And Bonnie Faye loves Ken. At one point, she even said when they broke up, she was like, why don't you go out with him more? You know, what's up with that? And she said, quote, I don't want to date Ken no more, Mama. She said that he stinks like cigarettes and all he wants to do is have sex. So I told him no.
Yeah.
Hey, good girl.
Sundance.
Yeah. He's trying to hump on me and I don't want to hump on him. So he can fuck himself.
Smoke and fuck. I don't want to be around
Smoke
that
and
guy.
fuck and then smoke again because we just fucked. So Bonnie Faye said she liked Ken and she encouraged Crystal to date him, but Crystal told her that Ken only behaved nicely at home, and Bonnie Faye told Crystal that she's right not to go out with him anymore. She said the ones who are nicest around home are often the ones that are the meanest when they're away from people.
Great point.
So, yeah, they saw each other occasionally still. Ken's real busy. He's got a job at the Santee Cooper Electric Company. He's got a fucking job at the electric company. He's got a curfew.
Yeah.
I work at the electric company. What are you talking about?
He lives at home, though.
He works
you're
at
under my roof. You live by my rules.
I could be electrocuted at work. Do you understand that? I got to be home at 12:30 for this. Get your own place also, Ken. That's the other thing. You work at the electric company, get your own place.
There's
but he's
the answer. Yeah.
He's apparently paying for college, too. He's going to evening classes at Horry Georgetown Technical College.
Oh.
And he's got a new girlfriend as well, who's a cheerleader from a high school in Aynor, A-Y-N-O-R.
He's got a girlfriend?
He's got a girlfriend, yeah.
And he's bugging on the girl at the
Well, he's got
racetrack?
Tammy, remember?
Yeah. Oh, that's Tammy.
That's Tammy. That's his girlfriend now.
Got
That's
it. Okay.
yeah, the cheerleader. That's we're going back full circle here, Jimmy. We're first full circle in here.
Well, don't be vague with fucking Tammy. I know Tammy.
That's true.
Say Tammy.
Well, I was gonna say that's Tammy from the racetrack, but then you asked.
I was like, wait.
I was like, no, I'm coming full circle.
Okay.
That was what I didn't mean. You should have known. I meant I was getting there. So, yeah. Anyway, Ken stops by the Todd's house all the time here, even when Crystal's not there. He'll just stop by and, whatever. He stopped by the day Crystal went to get her license back, but she wanted a ride to the Department of Motor Vehicles, and he had to go somewhere else, so he couldn't take her. Crystal went in the house when her car was ready, when she got it, and told her mother that Ken had approached her about dating again. And her mom said, he must think an awful lot of you to want to go with you. And Bonnie Faye said, well, he's already dating another girl, so I'm not interested. And that's where it stopped there. So here he is. I'm Ken Register. How's it going? I'm Ken Register over here. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
All right. So she said, I'm so glad you can. She said, Crystal isn't the mother Bonnie said, Crystal still ain't home yet. So maybe you can tell this policeman where you think we could find her. Mike could find her.
She's so Southern.
It's very, yeah. Everybody in this town is very Southern. It's a very Southern. And Ken says, I can't tell you much. I graduated from high school last year and don't hang around with Crystal and her friends anymore. The only thing I could tell you that would help is about a few parties that I heard about last night. You could check those. I was at the racetrack, basically.
Yeah.
So him and the cop leaned up against Ken's car and talked for about 10 minutes about location of parties and who Crystal hangs out with, where she might have gone. While he's talking to the cop, he does something extremely weird that I find very strange. He lights 2 cigarettes and gives one to Bonnie Faye, and then she smokes it. Now, okay, if someone asks for a cigarette or they want a cigarette, you give them a cigarette.
Right.
And then even if you're a gentleman, being a gentleman with an older woman, you light her cigarette for her. You light somebody's cigarette for them if you don't want them to steal your lighter.
With the cigarette in their mouth, right.
With it in their mouth. But you don't light it in your mouth and then hand it to them. You do that after you just fucked somebody. You know what I mean? Otherwise, it's like not only, I was just inside of you and then here's a cigarette that I had in my mouth also. Otherwise, this is creepy, right?
It's gross.
Am I wrong?
It's gross.
It's weird, right?
And I've done it. not after fucking. I've lit 2 cigarettes and handed it to a friend before, so they didn't have to handle it. Yeah,
but to your friend's mom, your ex-girlfriend's mom.
No,
that's my point. It's a weird thing. Yeah, it's a weird thing to do with someone's. It's very weird.
I've kissed your daughter. Here, put this in your mouth. Don't do that. No.
That's strange.
Yeah.
So he said, quote, I don't know too much about those parties for the people who go there because that's not my thing anymore. Bonnie Faye called me last night and asked me to go help her look for Crystal, but my mom didn't want me to go back out in the night air because I had taken a cold. Which I guess means he caught a cold, taken one. That sounds like it was on purpose. Like it was on the shelf, and I was like, do I want a cold tonight? And I said, you know what? Fuck it. And I grabbed it. Now I'm like, oh, why'd I grab that cold, man? Shit.
I don't need that. For it.
Damn it. Shit. Son of a bitch.
I'm paying for it.
Now I'm going to pay for it. So he said, I told her what I had heard about the parties. I also told her I would call the hospital to see if Crystal was there. And the cop said, Did you call the hospital? And he said, yes, sir, I called. But they told me there was no one there by that name in the emergency room. Then I called Miss Bonnie and told her that. Miss Bonnie. They said, about what time was that? And he said, about 1:15 or sometime afterwards. And he said, you can talk to my mom. She was there with me. So they wrote down his phone number. And he said, I wish I could tell you more, officer, but I don't know anything about where she was last night or anything about the parties because I wasn't at them. So, that's all I can do. He shook hands with the cop. He hugged Bonnie Faye, told her not to worry. He said, quote, Crystal's probably at a friend's house and just fell asleep. I'm sure she'll be okay. After church, I'll come back and help you look for her.
Yeah.
So, maybe she tied one on, and because she got that DUI, she didn't want to fucking tell you because you'd be, you know what I mean? Like maybe she's hungover, passed out at somebody's house. It happens. We'll figure it out. So, so Bonnie Faye thanked him, and she said, quote, you're the best friend Crystal has ever had, Ken. I just don't know what she would ever do without you.
Yeah, what a great guy.
So that same day, a couple hours, well, actually about an hour later is when the Allen brothers find a body. Out here.
9 a.m.
9 a.m., same time. So anyway, they, back to them, the Allens have now, parallel to this, the Allens, the Lloyd Sr., Lloyd Jr., and Lloyd's sister have all taken this cop out to where they found this dead body here. So the cop is looking down the down the dirt lane, and immediately he's thinking, holy shit, how the hell are we going to preserve evidence out here? Number one, these 2 brothers have been fucking traipsing about. It's outdoors.
Everywhere.
When there's corn dogs on the ground, how are you going to process that into evidence? So We don't know what it's made of, sir. We tried. We ran it through the lab. We're stumped, frankly.
We
don't
put
know.
it through one of those chemical deoxifiers or whatever it's called. Couldn't find out what it's made of.
Strangest thing, there's definitely no corn. I don't know how that happened, but there's no corn.
Very little dog in it.
Very little dog. But we did find some dog. We're thinking it is a Shar-Pei, possibly a Chow Chow. We'll get back to you on that. We're going to do further tests.
Long and smooth, we're guessing wiener dog. That's just our college education talk.
Oh, man. So this officer, he's shown the place, and, he sees all of this. He's like, oh, my God, this is, obviously, it's a fucking nightmare. Yeah. I mean, this is horrible. There's blood pooled in the road, blood soaking everywhere, circling around the body. The cop knew right away there can't be any more blood in this body. There's puddles, giant puddles of blood everywhere. Yeah. He thought, this is overkill. Why did somebody do this? This is obviously not a way to do this.
This is destruction, not just silencing somebody.
This is a horrible, fucking brutal overkill. I mean, the intestines are taken out. Like, that's not normal. So they said, judging by the marks on the dirt road, they think this victim had struggled with the assailant before she was killed. Drag marks to the ditch, approximately 10 feet from the bloodstain, indicated that she was dragged to the ditch while dying or dead, possibly, obviously to conceal the body. The position of the body in the ditch indicated that she was thrown or heaved into the 5-foot ditch ravine, not placed, just tossed into there like a bag of garbage. There were tire marks in the dirt and sand on the rutted road, possibly including those of the hunters, though. That's the thing. They don't know who else has been back here. The packed soil would probably make a tire and footprint identification difficult, if not impossible, because it's not dusty.
Yeah.
It's packed down pretty good, so you're not going to get a lot out of it. The lack of tire marks or prints through the blood in the narrow road indicated that that was probably where they stopped, was pre that, and this happened. So the position of the blood stain relative to the probable parking spot suggested that the struggle had started in one spot and moved to the final murder location.
Yeah.
They find a gold-colored herringbone necklace, probably, they said, lost when the victim's throat was slashed, because her throat was slashed as well. We'll talk about the wounds. And was found next to the blood stain. Also a gold earring found on the ground close to the body as well. Now, the evidence team talked about that this was possibly a sex-related crime with the partial clothing here. She'd been found with her belt and blue jeans unfastened and pulled down around her hips, and shirt was pulled up and torn, along with her bra pulled up and all of that. And buttons from her shirt were missing, which is a sign it was ripped open.
God damn it.
A large amount of blood on her face and what they described as a gaping 3 to 4 inch opening across the throat area.
Wow.
Her throat had been slashed, they think, more than once. It's fucking bad. There's several stab wounds and slash wounds in the abdomen area, cut to the stomach that is, like I said, disemboweling.
Too much, yeah.
And had blood-stained fingerprints on her left side under her arm, like somebody grabbed her by the arm and tossed her. Autopsy said that here, once they figure it out, it's crystal, by the way. This is crystal Fey, they find out when they do the autopsy. Obviously fucking horrible, man. The autopsy revealed that her outer skin was first examined for cuts, bruises, wounds, and puncture marks. There were 35 separate cuts and stab wounds.
35?
35. 7 bruises and 3 abrasions. This is brutal.
Jesus, somebody attacked the hell out of her.
Some of the wounds were made before she died, some while she died, and some after she died.
Oh, my God.
She is just an attack. Her face had been cut on her left cheek, on her right eyebrow, below the right eye, and below the inside corner of the right eye. She had bruises on her left temple, upper and lower lip, right eyebrow, right upper eyelid, and in the right temporal area. There were 3 knife wounds to the neck, any of which could have been fatal. All 3 of the throat-slashing cuts had been moved from behind her right ear down across the middle front of her neck and up the left side of her neck to meet behind and below the left ear.
So all the way around.
All the way around. They said they couldn't measure the depths of these 3 cuts. Basically, they almost took her head off.
Obviously, yeah.
It was like a Nicole Simpson wound.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
My.
So After the sweeping motion of the first cut from ear to ear, the knife had been inserted into the cut for a second slashing motion ear to ear. That's why they can't tell. Then reinserted for yet a third slashing cut. The knife cut slashed all the way through the tissues, including the windpipe, and nearly resulted in total decapitation. The medical examiner reported that the spinal column and bones of the neck were all that had kept Crystal's head attached to her body.
That is horrific.
Yeah, there was actual slices into the bones of her spinal column. Even that's how brutal it was.
People are capable of that. Cannot believe it.
Insane. Also, 6 more stab wounds in her chest, measuring slightly more than a half-inch long and approximately 2 1/4 inches deep. One of the wounds penetrated the right lung. One knife cut was made through the middle of the stomach, under the breastbone, into the liver. This is while she was still alive, by the way. Yeah. Twice she'd been stabbed in the back with such force that the knife stuck into the bone of the spinal column. Another 3-inch deep wound was made between the ribs and penetrated the aorta. Most of the additional knife plunges into her abdomen were made after she had died and penetrated the liver and small bowel. And there was also 2 wounds that had opened up the abdomen wall, and that's why her intestines were coming out.
Whoever did this is covered in blood.
Wow. They did a sample of her blood. She did no drugs or anything in her. She was positive for caffeine. Yeah. So she might have had coffee in her or something like that. Yeah, but nothing else in there. Numerous blood stains at the crime scene were matched against her blood, so they made a positive identification. And this is when DNA is just coming out, and it's going to be a huge thing in this case. So the medical examiners found 3 wounds on the underside of her left hand, one to her thumb, one to her middle finger, and one to her ring finger. And the police believed that these were defensive wounds, obviously. Examination of the head showed 3 stab wounds on the left side that penetrated the skull and passed into her brain.
Wow, man.
Fuck, man, that's fucking awful.
That's anger, right?
It has to be. Yeah, that's not like a regular day at work. That's not a 9 to 5. That's rage. One of the medical examiners said that he had never, in the 400-plus autopsies he'd performed, seen a knife stab so deeply penetrate the brain. Ever. Quote, it was extraordinary that so much power was used to actually penetrate the skull, not once, but 3 different times.
Wow.
Oh, my God. They examined her clothing, noted that there was knife holes in her bloodied shirt aligned with the knife holes in her back, knife wounds in her back. The alignment of the holes in the clothing gave them an idea about the posture of her, how she was when she was stabbed. So basically, like, they can tell what position she was in by the way the shirt would line up on her. You know what I mean, with the stab wounds. They ruled the cause of death as bleeding, obviously. She bled out. They concluded that she was conscious during the several minutes it took for her to die, and that she was cut and stabbed repeatedly as she lay bleeding and dying. That is fucking horrible. Oh, it gets worse, Jimmy. This was also a terrible sexual attack as well.
Positive for semen.
Everywhere. Every possible place it could be. Wow. And significant bruising around the vaginal and rectal areas as well from blunt force.
What a monster.
It was horrible, fucking horrible. So, and they found, semen there and everything else. So they said that the pathologist determined it had been a, quote, very controlled and deliberate attack. And so they were like, holy shit, this is horrible. Like,
this is, we got to figure out who did this, because this person is dangerous.
This is what Ted Bundy's bodies look like.
Right.
And this is the type of place they would be found. You know what I mean? This is bad. This is real bad. This is scary to everybody. And not only obviously to her family,
that's devastating.
Unthinkably horrible.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, just to anybody in the public, you're thinking, holy shit. So they took 38 photographs of the body from several angles and videotaped the crime scene. Plaster casts were made of the footprints and tire impressions, and they put small envelopes of dirt in plastic bags. Like, they were not fucking around here. This was everything y'all seen on TV. We're doing all of it.
Do y'all have a big enough bag for this road? Because I want it all.
I want every drop of dirt. We're getting an X-Acto knife, and we're cutting the top half-inch of topsoil off the top. We're going to take it with us.
We're going to backhoe this whole lot.
Because this is they want to find who the fuck did this, man. So they did that, plaster casts, small envelopes of dirt. 4 swabs were taken from the blood in the road, and additional swabs were taken from a brick found in the gully along the road here. Also found were 2 condom packages and 1 condom and a black and orange piece of material. Because the crime scene also showed signs of a struggle, they had hair and skin, they said maybe under her fingernails. That's what they're trying to get. Blood from somebody else and shit from under her fingernails. So
like an orange piece of material?
Yeah, a piece of material. That's all they said here. Now, one officer says to the other officer, you can probably change the report on that missing girl. I think we found her. And so they do. They change her officially from a missing person to a murder victim at this point. So they have to go notify poor Bonnie Faye now.
Oh, boy. This is going to be horrible.
This is going to be, this is bad. So, he said, I'm sorry. And this is the same guy who went out and found the body. He said, I'm sorry to have to bring this bad news to you, Miss Todd. And she said, you found my Crystal, and she's dead, ain't she? And he said, yes, it's my unfortunate responsibility to inform you that your daughter's been found dead. And she says, y'all better come in, and invites them inside. This is fucking horrible. So they talk to her. And she said, Jesus Christ. She said, I don't want to live neither at this point. And
damn it.
She's apoplectic. I mean, they don't know what to do. They're trying to help her and, I guess console her the best you can do here. So she stops crying after a while here. And so he said, tries to tell her what he knew, what he knows here. He said, this is what we found out so far. Crystal attended a party with a friend and then dropped her off at the mall to pick up her car, and that was the last time anyone reported seeing her alive. That's all we know, and you told us that. Is there anything else? Is there anything you can think of?
Yeah.
And she said Crystal always loved parties. She loved to talk to her friends on the phone and ride around with them on Friday and Saturday nights. So, she talked. She said Crystal didn't like for boys or girls to be jealous of other friends because she wanted to have a lot of friends. It didn't matter. She loved children and animals, people of all ages. They loved her too. And, he said, no, she sounds like a wonderful person. They said, is there anything else you can tell us about your daughter that would help us find her killer? And she said, well, quote, no, nothing. But she used to be the assistant piano player in church, but she didn't want to do it no more. I believe some of her friends could have made fun of her. I don't know. She didn't like too many black people.
Oh boy.
Didn't like too many? Like didn't have a lot of black friends, or she didn't like too many black people in the same place? So I see a lot of different ways that can go, but
it's a weird statement, Mom.
I think we get the idea.
Yeah.
She liked to go to movies and eat out. That's her stats. She likes movies, eating out, and doesn't like black people. That's what a weird
not too
top
many.
3.
There's a few.
Yeah, I'm not trying to. She's trying to give out any information she can. She's in a state of obvious, horrible.
God, it's confusion and panic.
Yeah. So
and
I
she's
think
just rattling off all kinds of things.
Anything. So I'm not saying that she thought about it. And she's like, the most important thing is she doesn't like black. That's not what we're saying. But either way, she said she didn't like anyone to stare at her when she was busy. Which she got from me, which she got honest from me.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, they let her talk. Police then talked to Carla, who was with her that night with Crystal. And Carla said, quote, oh, this boy was there, but he wouldn't talk to her. I told her he was no good, but she liked him for some reason. I could never figure out why. Sammy Bird is his name. He was there with another girl and didn't even say hello to Crystal. The girl even came and sat on the couch where we were, right beside Crystal, but I don't think she knew anything. Crystal certainly didn't say anything to her. It was shortly after that Crystal told me she was ready to leave whenever I was. So when I told her a few minutes later I needed to go get home on time, she jumped out and practically ran to the door. So she said, I was supposed to be home by 11:15, but I was a little late. We left at 11 and got back to the mall to my car at 11:13 is what she had said in the car when she turned it on. That was what that's a funny thing, because when you're a teenager and you're late, you know exactly when you got in the car and turned it on. You're like, oh, fuck. You know exactly what it was.
That glowing digital display right in the center of the car was such a pain in the ass. Oh,
bright blue.
no.
Bright blue shining right at you.
No, you're hoping that changes numbers.
Fuck. So they asked, was she upset by seeing Sammy?
Yeah.
And did she talk to him? Did she argue with him maybe at the party? And Carla says, no, nothing. That's what upset her. She saw him the night before and rode around with him and a friend of his, I don't know who. She said he was real nice to her then, and I think she went to the party hoping to see him. And then she did, and he was with another girl and ignoring her. Yeah. So she was upset about it. So they said, was there anyone else she might have talked to that maybe she would see later, see her like exchanging numbers or whatever the fuck? And she said, no, nobody that I saw. Said she didn't get in an argument with anybody. It was like a girl she bumped into maybe, and whatever. She said, no, she sat on the couch the whole time. And
she was upset that Sammy was there with a girl. That's all I know.
That's it. So they said, was Sammy still at the party when you left? And she said, yeah, he went back into the house with his date earlier, and that's the last time we saw him. And they said, well, what'd you talk about on the way to the mall? She said, just the regular. I tried to get her to not be, so upset over Sammy. I told her she could do better, and then we laughed a little, and then she seemed, okay about it. And she said, I knew she was sad, but, you're sad, you get over shit, basically. So they said, did Crystal say anything about what she was going to do when she left? And they said, no, she usually likes to eat or something like that. She didn't have to be in until like 12:30, so she just said she was going to look for something to do. I don't think she wanted to be by herself. If I had just, and then she trailed off. Like, why did I do that?
Oh, Carla.
So they said, one more question. Do you know anybody that Crystal hung around with that could do this kind of thing? Like anybody, maybe somebody in a gang or a cult of some kind? Oh, well, there is the one cult that she hangs around with. No, but that guy, no, she stopped. Wait, there's the other cult, though, that she used to hang out with. Like, yeah, she's lots of gangs and cults, being a rural teenage girl. She's in with all the gangs and cults. You know
I think
that.
The gangs and the cults would have been the first thing I talk about. I don't think you would have heard Sammy Bird's name if those things were around here.
Well, she is in a cult that likes to sacrifice 17-year-old girls, but I mean, besides that, I couldn't think of nothing. What a dumb fucking time to ask that question.
You should have led with that one, sir.
So this Carla's with her dad during the questioning, and it says that she looked at the cop like the cop had 5 heads, and then turned to her dad and said, "No, I don't understand the question."
What do they
like
mean,
she didn't even understand like gang or a cult. What are you talking about? So she didn't know the details of the murder. She thought at this point that Carla had been accidentally run over by a car and left to die in a ditch. That was the rumor that was going around because she was found in a ditch. So she's like, why would a cult hit someone with a car and leave them in a ditch? Or a gang? That's not a gang assassination or whatever the fuck. So, then she didn't learn until later on when she talked to the mom and everything like that.
Question, right.
She said, I wish I could help you, but I don't have any idea who'd want to kill Crystal. She had so many friends. Everyone liked her. So back to the Todd house with Bonnie Faye here. Carla goes over to the house with Bonnie Faye to pass her condolences and all that sort of shit. Crystal's cousin, Kevin James, is out there.
Yeah.
He's just, just being fat and funny and,
a lot of
not funny, but trying to be funny. They talked a little bit there, and she looked down toward the bushes, and there was somebody over there, and she said, "Who's that?" And the cousin said, "Oh, that's Ken throwing up in the bushes."
Uh-huh.
And they said, "Ken, is he sick?" And the cousin said, "Yeah, some lady gave him some punch that made him sick." Okay. So they're all talking, and the three of them are talking, and the Allen brothers called to talk to Bonnie Faye during this time, the people who found the body. Everybody knows everybody. Okay.
Oh God, what are they going to say to her though?
The person who found who found this is great. Yeah, it's so weird that the person who found the body knows the mother, and the mother knows the 911 dispatcher. This is all too much. I'm waiting for the mayor to show up and traipse around the crime scene and mess up evidence like other episodes we've had. So they're desperate for information.
Uh-huh.
So the Allen brothers they said, we don't want to talk about what happened to you. Right. And she said, I want to know, goddammit. So they said, all right, well, this is what we saw.
Yeah.
So she comes outside and hangs up the phone and comes outside to the kids who are out there, the teenagers, Kevin James and Carla and Ken, and says, youngins, that's how she announces it. Youngins, he said she was butchered like a hog, which is a horrible thing to fucking hear. Shirley, who is Ken's mother, she was there as well. She motioned to Ken that she was going to leave at that point. So Ken followed, and he watched his mother and sister drive away. And anyway, when Kevin came out, they came out of the house, and one of his friends said, "Hey, Ken, we're going to ride over to Colin's Jolie where they found Crystal this morning. Want to go with us?" Who wants to go find the...
What?
Why? Why would you want to do that? He said, "No, I don't think so. Y'all go ahead." And they said, "How come you don't want to?" "I don't know, because it's fucking weird. That's why. I'm going to go with weird. That's why." He said, "I just don't. I don't think I can handle it. You know, friend of mine, don't want to go look at her blood puddle right now. That's horrible."
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Wow, that's weird. So they hold a press conference here. The chief of police, Chief Harris, holds a press conference asking anyone who had any information on the case to come forward. He said, quote, "It's the most brutal crime some of my men have ever seen. We have questioned more than 100 people and are going on the theory that everyone is a suspect. Suspects are being eliminated one by one, and all we can say is we believe Miss Todd was killed by someone we knew because she was not the type of person who would pick up and go off with someone she didn't know."
Yeah.
So, yeah, her funeral, more than 1,500 people show up for that.
Wow.
Which is a good chunk of the town at that point.
Sure
like, there wasn't 25,000 people in it back then.
That's probably 10% of the town.
More than that, I think.
Yeah.
It was more than that. So, huge deal here. Now, the big rumor, once they found out what happened now, they found out how she was cut up and all this crazy shit. Her friends are all talking about, fuck, man, what happened? What's going on? Now they're all talking about had to be a satanic cult. All the friends are saying, based on what happened. Had to be a satanic cult. They left her guts hanging out and, all this type of shit. Had to be that. Carla had been told that Crystal hadn't been run over by a car and left to die, as she heard, but instead, all of this kind of thing. And that made her go, oh, that's why they asked me about cults before and gangs. That makes a lot of sense. So she, she understood that, but then she heard from her, this is what Carla said about what her friend said, quote, "When my friends told me that night that she had been killed and cut up by a satanic cult, I was scared to look at her at the funeral. That was the hardest thing I ever had to do in my entire life. I was like in shock. I couldn't even talk when I saw the casket sitting there. I was very angry. If all these things I just heard were true, then I couldn't believe they would have the top of her casket open and her body right there for everyone to gawk at, because she just doesn't understand that they fixed her wounds so she didn't look like that. I hear her face was skinned off. Can you imagine why I was afraid to look at her? I now know the stuff people were saying about her and the way she died wasn't true, but for a while there, I didn't know what to believe." So, skinned off. That didn't happen.
When you walk into a parlor like that and you see the casket is open, I assure you they've done their best to make sure that this is what happened is not obvious.
They don't want you to see that.
Unless
I've
it's
seen
Emmett Till. They want you to see. They want you to see a respectful body.
They want. Yeah, I've been to 2 open casket
murders,
violent death things, and they both. I mean, I told you about my great grandmother, and I made a joke about the pearls. They just put those on her neck, but my friend shot himself. They made it. They looked. You couldn't tell.
Yeah.
So anyway, they said that there's a lot of clues, but they don't have anything solid to go on or anything like that. At the funeral, the cop left. They showed up. They were looking around to see if anybody looked, guilty or nervous, and they were scoping the crowd, and they said that everybody just looked sad.
Yeah,
that was that.
As they would be.
Yeah, Bonnie Faye kind of like hangs out with Ken the whole time during the thing. Like she's like leaning on him and stuff like that. She said if you had only been with her, things would have been different, and Crystal would still be alive. Because he's a stocky, muscular guy. He's 5'10", 190, got some muscle to him. Boy. So she said that, she said that he would always protect her. She said, quote, Ken, I feel like if you was there, you could have saved her. I just bet you the last words on her lips were your name. She probably died calling your name to save her.
Oh, God, Bonnie.
Jesus Christ, that's brutal. That's so Ken felt ill and went and threw up here. Sure. Yeah. And so his mom said he always throws up at times like these. It's probably his nerves. He's got a nervous stomach when it comes to that. Ken's a pallbearer as well. He helps carry the casket and all that sort of thing. Hey, everybody. Just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you a little bit about Sono Bello. You know, the most known secret with celebrities and influencers and all these famous people is so many of them have had lipo. They've had lipo, whether it's a little touch-up here or a total makeover.
Yeah.
Nobody has a perfect body. That's the thing.
No.
They may look like it on TV, but there's things that help that. Absolutely. Lipo now has changed, and Sono Bello's been at the forefront with using LAL technology and getting those beautiful and natural outcomes for each person. Looking real natural. Our friends at Sono Bello are offering their best deal. You're now included in their winter savings event, but appointments are limited, so please get on this. Sono Bello doctors are masters in micro laser fat removal, a brilliant technique that removes stubborn fat permanently wherever your problem areas are. Tummy, love handles, thighs, arms, it's gone in one comfortable visit. Eating healthy and workouts are great. Keep doing that, but if you want to lose that stubborn fat in one visit, check out Sono Bello. Save big during their winter savings event. Schedule your free consultation now at sonobello.com/smalltownmurder. That's sonobello.com/smalltownmurder.
Now back to the show.
Hey everybody, just going to take a quick break from the show to tell you a little bit more about our stylish friends at Quince. That's right, let's go elevate your styles, people. Yeah. Get it going, look good out there, and you can do it now without breaking your wallet, without breaking the bank, because at Quince, you can get high-end, versatile pieces at prices we can all actually afford, which is very nice. You want to get good stuff that lasts and it's good, and they have quality stuff that's very affordable, and you can do like we did, upgrading our stuff here, while still being a very reasonable price. Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, responsible manufacturing practices, along with premium fabrics and finishes. It's all quality stuff. You're going to love it. Trust us, it looks good. And I've got the leather jacket. It's a very high-quality item. Real nice, soft leather. Yeah. Jimmie's got his linen pants he's rocking.
Yeah, they're terrific.
Come on, be like us. Be fashionable. Get in there with Quince. Indulge in affordable luxury. Go to quince.com/smalltownmurder for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/smalltownmurder to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/smalltownmurder.
Now back to the show.
He, hangs out with the pallbearers there, does all his duties, and then after the funeral, they're all going to come by the Bonnie Faye's house. Now, there's a rumor that Carla's not safe now either. There's an article in the newspaper saying that someone else might be have to put into hiding over this.
Oh?
Yeah, because Carla was one of Crystal's best friends and the last to see her alive, she was warned by friends that she would be the killer's next target.
Good Lord.
She said, I was scared to death. I didn't have a clue who the killer might be, but I felt he knew me. Now we have a Scream, I know what you did last summer situation going on now.
I was just going to say,
fuck.
Feels like Scream.
This is crazy. I thought he might think I was, that I know more than anyone who he might be. So I was freaking out and thinking I was going to be the next one. So Carla told the newspaper that Crystal's murder had changed her outlook on life. And, she was, fucking her friend's going to miss out on everything, the senior prom and all this type of shit in college. And she said, this has really hit home for me. I've been looking at life through rose-colored glasses, but this makes everything totally different now. You should do a murder podcast for about 5 years. Crystal and I were together nearly every Friday or Saturday night up until the night before her death. I know one thing for sure about me, that I will never drive anywhere alone at night again.
Poor Carla.
So several high school girls now begin receiving death threats pieced together with words from newspapers and magazines, like old school
fuck? Who's doing
movie
this?
ransom notes, with the messages all spelling out, you will be next.
You bastards.
Yes, that's what's going on at that point. So she said, I won't go out of my house by myself. My father or one of my brothers has to walk me out to my car and stay with me until I'm locked in and safe. Oh Christ, these poor kids. Jesus fucking Christ. So they're all talking about satanic rituals and all this type of shit. Her arms, the rumors were crazy, though. The rumors were her arms were cut off and burned, her face was skinned, her heart and liver were missing, her eyes were plucked out. They removed her organs and repositioned them. All this shit. They took her organs out and then put them with a bunch of black candles and cups filled with her blood. These are the rumors that are going around, though.
What a bunch of assholes.
One of her friends said about this, too. It's not easy to identify those devil worshippers. That's what they told police, because they asked police, you know anything? And they were like, I hear it's Satanists. And then they said, it's not easy to identify those devil worshippers. I don't think they're all walking around in their black costumes and drinking blood, but I believe they look just like us, wear normal clothes, act like normal people. I don't think the majority of them, you would know who they are by looking at them, so they could be any one of us. That's why it's so hard to find them. I feel like some cult group did this. Who else would be capable of such a crime?
Take it easy,
I don't know.
Wednesday Addams.
Yeah, Ted Bundy, Gary Ridgway,
right.
John Wayne Gay. I could name 20 people very capable of this crime. Fuck. So the chief of police said there was no signs that the killing was related to satanic rituals at all. Yeah. He says, I'm not going to get into whether it was satanic or ritualistic. We have nothing at this point in time to lead us to that conclusion. Right. The rumors of a satanic killing are most likely the result of someone's inability to understand how a person could commit such a brutal murder. And anytime you have a brutal murder, people try to relate it to that type of crime, especially back then. Anytime from about 79 to 95, the immediate, oh my God, it has to be Satan. You know, they said this is the exact thing that happened with the West Memphis 3. Right. It has to be cult people, because look at what they did. Well, you don't know what weird shit goes on in some creepy guy's head, you know?
How many crime scenes have you heard about or seen? Because a lot of them are pretty fucking vicious, and you'd think that they were a fucking sacrifice to something, when it's probably not. It's probably just a sexually frustrated sick fuck.
Well, in a movie, you get, either a full-on serial killer that takes you apart, or there's like just a quiet strangling where you go, and then die quietly in 30 seconds. Like, those are the only two ways to die, so they see it like that. Now the evidence that they do have. The day her body was found, a Michael Jordan baseball hat, was removed from her car and sent to the lab for forensics lab for analysis. It was a solid black with a 23 on it, his number, and it said "Flight by Jordan." You remember those old hats?
Absolutely.
Written across the front. How many people had those? A trillion?
Yeah.
Now, a preliminary investigation produced 2 black curly hairs that suggested that they look like hairs of an African-American person. So that's what they were looking at. So many of Crystal's friends, they went around to see if they could identify the hat. Whose hat is this? Yeah. At least that we know someone that was in her car. So they said, whose hat is this? Carla, they showed the hat. Carla was with her boyfriend, and her boyfriend laughed and told the detectives he didn't know anyone that wore a hat like that. Laughed at it. They said, why is that funny? And he said, quote, nothing to do with Michael Jordan, but what white boy would wear a hat like that? Everybody I know wears a Browning, Remington, Buck, or Budweiser hat, something like that. They definitely don't wear no Michael Jordan hat.
Wow.
Wow, we grew up in very different places, because every white boy I ever knew growing up had that exact hat. So very different places. I knew very few people with Browning, Remington, Buck, or Budweiser hats, though. So just different plases, different strokes.
If I knew anybody that wore a Buck, Browning, Budweiser hat, they were doing it as a joke.
Yeah. It was some sort of
like, how funny this stupid hat is.
Jesus Christ. So they go around asking, does she know any black guys? Because that's with this hat. Not that they even think that this is but maybe it's someone who knows something. They're at dead ends.
Witness at some point. Yeah, we're desperate. You know anybody?
This person might have been in her car at some point. Maybe not last night. Maybe, a while back, but whatever. We're going to find it. So they asked around. Bonnie Faye said that it was all pure gossip, and she was apparently, according to the book, it says here, quote, she was adamant that her daughter would never have been involved with a black man. Quote, I ain't never believed in black and white mixing, and my daughter felt the same way. I don't know who told you this trash, but whoever did it told you a pack of lies.
Okay, Bonnie,
that's what she said.
In the car. Whose hat?
There's a hat in the car. Yeah. A friend of hers also said the same thing. I mean, this is like basically all of her friends said the same thing. One started out with the direct quote is, now, I'm not saying I'm racist or anything. This is literally the first line.
Some crazy shit.
She said, because I've just been raised in the South, she said, and my family isn't prejudiced, but they just know, but that's just how I've been raised. And it's not, we're not prejudiced. I've just been raised prejudiced. It's a very, I'm not Jewish. We just go to temple on Saturday and I got bar mitzvahed last week, but I'm not Jewish at all.
The things they're saying is insane.
Yeah.
All of them.
And everyone out there, when you hear something like this, you go, well, yes, this sounds ridiculous. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't nitpicky. This is just like, this is what happens. So, and it's 1991, right. Rural South Carolina. Yeah. It's 30 years. It's literally 30 fucking years ago. Right. So 30 years before this, the Civil Rights Act hadn't even been signed yet. So right. You know what I mean? We got to go by whatever. So anyway, she says that. She said, there is a difference, around my house. At least there's a difference, and that's how I was raised. I think Crystal was raised the same to some extent because Crystal didn't mess with, she didn't date black guys. I think someone asked Crystal to go out with a black guy one time, and Crystal didn't want to go out with him. She told her friend Carla. Carla said, well, if I can't even understand what that means. Crystal had lost her license, and I didn't blame her. I didn't blame her because that just makes my skin crawl. I'm not racist or anything, but like the rest of us, we think there's a difference between blacks and whites. That's what she said. So they're what
does that mean?
They're like, we don't care about your fucking. Do you know a black guy that may have been in her car? That's all we're asking. I don't give a shit what your family thinks, what your grandma thinks about, interracial marriage. Not my concern. What the fuck over here?
We found a black hair similar to African American hair inside this hat, inside her car. Whose is it? That's what we want to know.
That's all we want to know.
Don't preface any statement with "I'm not racist," but just
don't care. So they end up, the guy who owned the cap turned out to be a friend of one of Crystal's girlfriends who had gotten the cap, and then this girl ended up giving it to Crystal for something else. So it originally belonged to a black guy who this one girl knew, but no direct link to the guy has no direct link to Crystal. So they're like, we're pretty sure the girlfriend didn't take her apart and rape her. So, so the FBI now comes in.
Oh boy.
They work up a profile. This is David Caldwell profile. This was not released to the general public at the time at all. This was only given to the police. I'll just read it. Predicted characteristics of Crystal Faye Todd's killer. These characteristics are probable. However, the investigators are cautioned not to rule out any good suspect because he does not fit the description, obviously. White male between 20 and 25 years of age. Recklessness, if probably a noted second characteristic. He has some social skills, can smile, can converse. He's not too scary. The murder is not suggestive of a lot of forethought or planning. We would expect that he transferred blood to his automobile after the crime, so he's going to be a guy with blood in his car. He is an angry man with generalized anger toward most people. Many have noticed that something is not quite right with him. He's probably episodically unemployed. He's not a businessman or a professional person. He probably has trouble with policies and coworkers and consequently has not had long-term employment. It sounds like you. His
whole thing.
His performance generally at work would be cyclical. So sometimes that sounds like you.
Yeah.
He may work well one week and not so well the next week. Yeah, that's you. He might not show up the next week. We would expect cyclical social performance as well. No, you're good socially. He may be nice one day, ornery the next. No, you're pretty consistent. You're a happy guy. Well, not happy, but you're upbeat. We'll put it that way.
Don't take it out on everybody else.
Exactly. People that know him may say that one never knows what to expect from him. He has no tremendous need for money. He's not chronically unemployed. He's not worried about where he's going to get his next meal. So he's got some sort of
How the
family
fuck
person.
do they know this?
This is, by the way, these profilers do this by looking at the crime scene. They don't want to know any information you have.
That's amazing.
They want to go, how old is that girl? Stats of the victim. Let me look at pictures. That's it. Don't tell me anything else.
Mind blowing.
Because that'll fuck it all up. And they're good at it. There's a way you do it. It's almost like after a while you see these patterns, and not me, but them. Right. He is able to make ends meet. There's probably another person, perhaps a family member, on whom he is partially financially dependent. He's not a cocaine addict who steals money or valuables thinking about his next fix. So he's not that. He is not the product of a wholesome, nurturing family environment. In his formative years, he has had no solid male role model. He probably had a missing father, almost certainly an emotionally missing father, perhaps divorced, father worked all the time, traveled a lot, was dead, was an alcoholic. He probably is a local person from Horry County, familiar with the site of the body recovery. Either he lives near there or a family member lives near there, or perhaps he hunts, fishes, or works in the area. At any rate, he's been there before.
Yeah, he's comfortable there.
He is impulsive and angry at the world. He has a large chip on his shoulder. Life has not been easy for him, and deep down he feels someone must pay for the way his life has gone. Well, our lives have sucked too, but I don't want to take it out on other people. At the 11:30 rendezvous with the victim could be the result of having gotten off a second shift, or perhaps a result of having left a party earlier that evening. He doesn't think he went out to hunt at 11:30 like Ted Bundy would. He feels fairly confident that he will not be a suspect. He does not believe he will be associated with her that night. He would probably best be described as not an intimate acquaintance, perhaps a peripheral acquaintance. He sees himself as a social outcast, and probably rightly so. He's probably not widely accepted by his peers. He's unable to... Isn't this interesting as fuck, by the way?
Stunned.
This is riveting, right?
Absolutely riveted. I want every word that they say.
I'm like, oh, I hope this is longer. I'm like, oh, there's more. Good. He's unable to sustain a warm, nurturing relationship. If he was ever married, there would be lots of problems. Whether or not he had a specific plan to kill that night is equivocal. One hallmark of his life would be frustration. The stress of everyday life would be tough on him. He projects his problems. I'm not the problem, they are. When he was in school, he was not the type to say, whoa, yeah, the teacher is right. I should have, ... He's the type to say, they're full of it.
Yeah.
They're coming after me. Everyone's out to get me.
Yeah.
Everyone's out to get me. I'm perfect. They're all bad. Everyone's cheating me. He's that guy. Everybody knows a person like that, right? I think everyone in your life. He does not enjoy the reputation of being particularly smart. That's a nice way to put it. I'm going to say that when I think someone's dumb next time. I don't think he enjoys the reputation of being particularly smart. Enjoys is the key word there.
Yeah.
I don't think he enjoys the reputation of being particularly smart. I'm going to say that every time I think someone's stupid.
He actively avoids that reputation with every bone in his body.
He regularly carries a knife, shows it off, considers it to be part of his image. He likes to think of himself as macho and tries to pose himself as macho. He probably drinks the long neck buds and Jack Daniels. So they even have his drinks down. Yeah. You're looking for that. That's what he's drinking. He's a shot and a beer guy.
Wow.
He probably cannot take protracted pressure. However, he probably handles acute, immediate pressure very well. He probably does not have a lot to make him attractive to peer females. For the most part, females from his peer group do not have a lot to do with him. He is not witty. He is not charming. He would probably be attractive to younger girls simply because he is older.
Oh, my God.
Perhaps what he could offer peer girls would be drugs or maybe money, though it is not expected that he would have much money. He has come to the attention of law enforcement before. Perhaps when he was 12 or 13, he was torturing animals, starting fires, committing random acts of vandalism. He's probably not doing much dating. He's not a ladies' man. He may have some date rapes in his history, maybe raped a cousin, but he's not doing stranger kidnap rapes. He's not doing burglary/rapes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's going to be someone he thinks he knows something about. Otherwise, he would be scared. Alcohol intoxication on the night of the murder is a good bet. It is possible that two perpetrators were involved, based on the level of carnage. After the commission of the murder, this perpetrator would probably have gone straight to a safe haven, either to his home or a relative's house, as opposed to going out and setting up an alibi somewhere. Yeah. It should be considered that this safe haven might be in the same direction from the crime scene as the crime scene is from her abandoned car. Mm-hmm. Wow. It could be considered that after staying in town for a few weeks, he will leave for an ostensibly good reason, such as to visit or live with a relative or for some employment opportunity in another town. Right. That is a picture painted.
It's unbelievable they can get all that.
You see a person now, don't
Absolutely.
you? Like you know that guy, you see that guy. There's a whole deal there, and they're
confident that's what the guy looks like. Or that's what
they're confident. That's the profile. Yeah. That's the FBI profile. So they're looking for a shithead.
Yep,
a 20 to 25-year-old shithead somewhere in there. Now they have to talk to. They still haven't done a formal interview with Ken. Ken Register. So they have to talk to him. They did the leaning against the car, writing some notes. So they said, when the officer comes over to ask him, he's over at visiting with Bonnie Faye Todd.
Right.
And they said, when would be a good time to, interview you at a formal interview, go down to the station, sit down. And Bonnie Faye jumped in and said, well, Ken ain't the one. Why are you wasting your time? Ken's our best friend. Oh. He's like family. Why don't you look for the ones that could have done something like this?
Yeah. Well, Bonnie,
and they said,
what if?
They said, we're doing our best, Bonnie Faye, just not to overlook anything. You know what I mean? He might know something that he didn't realize he knows that he'll come out in a full interview, and that'll be the key, and we'll get it. So she said, I know. She said, I'm sorry, Bill. I know you're doing everything you can. I just miss her so bad, which, yeah, obviously, that's terrible. She said, Ken's been the most help. I don't know what I'd do without him. He calls and comes over, and he's always asking about what you found.
Well, I wonder why, Bon.
That's not a good sign, by the way.
Why do you think he wants to know what the cops know?
Over-interest in murder is not a good sign,
right.
Except unless you're doing a podcast.
Yeah.
Now... They had, like I said, spoken to him a little bit earlier, but now they're, the second interview needs to be arranged. And also they need to get like blood and hair samples. They're getting them from everybody. Mm-hmm. Everybody that knew her, everybody was at that party that night.
Everybody in the phone book.
You can bet Sammy got a good once over, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Hardcore.
Poor bastard got a swab up his ass.
Wow. Oh, they went up his ass with a microscope. So then that evening, Ken went to Bonnie Faye's house and expressed concern over the interview to her mother. He was very agitated, saying that the police hadn't found the killer yet. Now they're going to pin it on me.
Why would they?
And Bonnie Faye's like, what are you talking about? Like, no, why would you do that? She said, you didn't do it. Why would they pin it on you? And he said, it don't matter now. They can't find anybody, so they pull your blood and rig it to make it look like you did it.
Oh, okay.
Everybody's talking about it. Now ain't the time to be giving blood because they're getting desperate.
Uh-huh.
Now ain't the time to be letting my blood out of my body because they're going to put it all with her stuff. Bonnie Faye told him that he's crazy.
Yeah.
She said, stop that. Stop. And he even asked, why do you think they're going to take your blood? And he said, police said that they're taking everybody's blood. That's why. Yeah, that's what's going on. And then Ken stated, those tests ain't perfect, Well, don't be surprised. Then he said, well, don't be surprised when they arrest the wrong one.
Oh, Ken.
They're pretty good.
Yeah.
Especially DNA. He doesn't realize DNA tests are pretty goddamn good.
He has no clue.
He then went on to say that the tests, quote, could be beat. It's not a lie detector test.
No.
Then he said, quote, you could fake them out. You could take somebody else's blood and give it to them.
No, Ken. No, that's not how it works.
No, they take the blood from your arm, Ken.
It's not like you don't drink Golden Seal and it's somebody else's blood.
He thought it's like it's a piss test and the guy's outside the thing and you just come out, well, here's my sample. They're going to take it from your arm. You don't They don't expect you to bring in your own blood sample and hand it to them.
You can't put like a fake arm full of somebody else's blood in your sleeve and then have them jab that arm.
With a heater in there. It doesn't work the same.
like one of those fake schwanzes that's full of somebody else's piss.
Yeah.
You can't do that. That's
use.
not a thing. Who is the native?
So then Ken talked to Dina, who's Bonnie Faye's niece, and he told her the same thing. He said, quote, they're getting ready to put it on the wrong man now so they can get somebody arrested for this case. And Dina was like, what are you talking about? And he said, I know they're going to pull my blood, and if it comes out to be me, they're framing the wrong one.
Oh, my God.
Well, any framing would be the wrong one, I would assume. So they were like, stop, you didn't do anything, just get it over with. Do the stupid thing the cops want to do. Couple things about Ken, by the way. 2 months before the Crystal was murdered here, Ken was on his way to a class at the Technical Education School located next door to Coastal Carolina University. Driving through the campus, he pulled his car up next to two female students and asked for directions to the library. That's reasonable. Gee, who used to pull up and ask for directions to libraries? And so weird. One of the young women had noticed Ken unfastening his pants and said so to her friend. Ken pulled forward and passed the young women, abruptly swung his car around, drove back past them, and said, excuse me, to the women, who turned and looked again. He's in his car. He pushed up his body, arched his back, and, quote, shook his exposed genitals at the women and said, quote, come and get it. We realize this is terrifying to have a guy in a car shaking his dick at you, but He also said, come and get it. And it was broad daylight, and they weren't in any physical danger because there's lots of people around, and her friend was with her. So it's got, at that point, we have to laugh at it. So
that could be horrifying, obviously, but what's his angle there? What do you think is going to happen, man?
Someone's going to go, ooh, there's none of those in college. I could never find a spare penis. I got to get in your car, even, no. It just looks so good she had to have it right then. No, that's not working either. She's not a guy.
No.
If a woman pulled by and flashed her tits down, a guy would jump into the moving car's window.
Yep.
That would be different. Hey, legs kicking out of the thing.
You betcha.
All right, shit. Let me see them titties. Where are we headed? Legs kicking out, barely hanging on for his life. It's all right.
A woman could murder so many men.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We trust them completely. So as Ken drives away, she pulls a neat little trick. She says, hey, wait. So he stops, thinking, they thought about it for a minute. They were like, as a matter of fact, that was a good opportunity. But it wasn't. The woman just ran up behind him and got his license plate number.
Hey, wait, I don't have your plate yet.
Then they reported it to campus police and gave a detailed description of both Ken and his penis. Yeah. So that's all good there. They checked the tag number. It's registered to his mom, Shirley Register, and there you go.
It's registered to the registers.
Yeah, they registered to the register. They questioned Shirley. Shirley didn't know why they were asking, so he just said, Ken was driving my car around that afternoon.
Hey, Shirley, did you have your penis out today?
Did you have your penis out anywhere? So Ken told police in front of his mother that he had not been on campus that afternoon, and he certainly hadn't exposed himself to any female students. That's crazy. So the photographic lineup, though, was arranged, and the women were asked to identify the person, and within seconds, they picked Ken out of the lineup. I mean, it was, but after 5 minutes, the other student picked somebody else.
Oh, no.
So Ken was still arrested. One out of the two wasn't bad. Ken's still arrested, and we'll figure it out there. He's released on bond. Now, this whole thing, they're looking at Ken, wanting to talk to him about Crystal, and now they hear that, he's got a pending indecent exposure charge. That's a sexual crime. This is a sexual crime. They're like, this is interesting. He had Ken's name pulled off the pretrial intervention program list because he was going to get some nothing thing that allows youthful offenders to avoid indictment and keep their records clean by performing public service and attending classes. So this guy said he saw the charges as possibly relevant to the murder, so he's going to keep it here. So in an interview with Ken's football coach, conducted by the police, they introduced another element here. Coach Chuck Jordan, who sounds like a football coach through and through. Yep. He's going to tell you to hit that blocking sled harder.
For sure.
He's got the smallest shorts on ever. Tiny little shorts. He said he believed he saw his players under conditions of extreme stress, and that provided insights into the extremes of a young man's personality.
Oh, Chuck.
I guess so.
Yeah.
He said he saw Ken's temper during a game. Ken was called for a personal foul and became upset, first because of the foul, and then with the coach himself, who sided with the official, as he was like, no, the ref was fucking me. Ken had difficulty letting the perceived injustice pass. When he was benched for the infraction, he got in the coach's face to explain himself. The coach was busy with the game and didn't have time for Ken, but Ken was persistent and glared at the coach in a nose-to-nose confrontation. After several attempts to calm Ken, the coach had to tell him to shut the fuck up and listen to what he had to say. And, Ken was really pissed off about it. But the coach said, I really haven't seen that degree of lack of control out of a kid in all my coaching years.
Wow.
That's a lot. There was no question in my mind he was totally out of control. And he said he continued his verbal aggression on the bench, and other coaches tried to intervene, and he wouldn't take it, and it took him, a quarter and a half to calm down about a fucking call on the field. So he was suspended for the team from a week, and they had to meet with his parents and all that kind of shit. But Ken said that he had convinced his parents he had done nothing wrong and that the coach was wrong. So they tried to cause trouble for the coach. The parents did. So he said, I wanted to make sure his parents understood that Ken cussed too, and that I very vividly remember their reaction was, no, not Ken. Mm. His dad made the comment that they had never heard him cuss before.
Really?
When at church? Yeah, you haven't, but in the football field, it's a little bit different. The coach said, Ken always wore his feelings on his shirt sleeve. You knew where he was coming from. If he walked in my office, I knew what kind of mood he was in, and I knew whether he was sad or happy or whatever. I find it hard to believe that Ken could go that length of time from when the murder happened until the time, you're talking to him, concealing his emotions and feelings and not having his personality change in such a way that would be observable by somebody close to him. So, they said now that they've realized he has a temper, this profile's starting to look pretty good for this guy here.
It really does.
Because the coach also, a coworker now brings up a point when Ken lost his temper at his job. Quote, with one of the big guys. I think they mean one of the bosses. Uh-huh. Ken was temporary help, and temporary guys got all the dirty jobs. Yeah. The other guys often kidded the temps, and he usually took it in stride, they said. But then, quote, one of the boys, TR, was really getting on his case. Must have been a bad day for him. Ken picked him right up and slammed him on the ground because he had edged him too far, He bugged him and bugged him and bugged him until he finally lost his temper and picked him up and threw him down.
He picked up TR?
He picked up TR, a grown man, and fucking threw him to the ground like a child. So that's weird. I guess he is muscular. And the guy even said, TR said, yeah, that did happen. But he insisted that it was only some roughhousing. Yeah. He said, I don't think Ken was mad at me. It was just a case of boys being boys, he said.
TR don't want to admit he got the best of him.
He did say, though, quote, for his size, Ken's a fairly strong guy. Well, yeah, he slammed you on the ground. Yeah. For 3 months, though, TR and Ken rode together in a work truck as they went from job to job. He also commuted with Ken every morning. Uh-huh. So, yeah, he said they got to know each other real well. Ken had driven his mother's car to work the week after the murder. Ken told TR that his car was in the shop because of a computer problem that was difficult to fix. He also said Ken followed the murder investigation closely, and sometimes TR read the newspaper to him as he drove.
Gross.
Tell me more about the dead girl.
Yeah.
They also learned from TR that Ken loved different porno mags. Really? He said he hadn't brought magazines to work until January. Who brings porn to work? What are you talking about? You don't bring porn to work, man.
That's so weird.
I'm going to have to whack it at lunch at least. I'm a 15-something, so, I got to bring it. Wow. That's weird. He said that in January he started bringing it in. His friend said, quote, he started bringing magazines, I'd say every other day, 2 or 3 times a week. He said he was getting them from a friend of his. He never took the magazines home. He kept them in the truck for some reason.
What?
That's
so weird.
Ken later on will claim that he was buying them for his supervisor at work.
Yeah, okay.
His supervisor will say, quote, I thought Ken was all right. He was certainly a good worker. But when I was told that he said he purchased the magazines for me, well, I knew that was a lie. And that lie made me rethink everything I knew about him.
Yeah.
Picture a first hard-working, church-going guy. Now he's a little porno monkey fucking weirdo slamming people to the ground.
Telling everybody it's my mag.
It's my mag. I ain't my jerk mag. So they bring Ken in. He shows up at the police department here several hours before his scheduled appointment, which is right away strange. He sat there and did his thing, and they said, okay, Ken, I'm sure that you know the reason we asked you to come in again today is to try and help us with the murder investigation of Crystal Todd, blah, blah, blah. He says, yeah, she's a good friend of mine. I've known Crystal and her family my whole life. Her cousin Kevin is my best friend. Crystal and I used to hang out together some, just friends. Did you two ever date? For about a month, 2.5 years ago, for about a month in 1988. They said, did you ever have sex with her during that time or any other time? He said, no, I've never had sex with Crystal Todd. They said, at any time. And he shook his head and said, nope, not at all. So they said, do you know who might have been involved with her at the time of her murder? And he said, I think she was seeing some guy named Tony. And they said, Tony? Anyone you know? And he said, Crystal once dated a boy from Einor named Todd, but I don't know his last name. His name was Todd. Thank God they didn't get along because she would have been that man's no, bad. I'm Crystal Todd. This is my husband Todd. It's too much. Too many Todds. Too many Todds. They said, did you know any of her close friends? And Ken started naming girls, that he knew. And they said, did she ever mention using drugs? And he said, one time when Crystal was drinking, she told me about the time she was with her friend and they smoked some dope.
Yeah.
I don't know if this was true or not because I never actually saw her use any type of drugs, but I did hear about the time she got drunk and ended up shitting all over things.
What?
That's how she got the name Shitter.
What? He
Apparently
said that
her
to the
nickname-
cops?
Yeah, he told her
That's
their nickname is
fucked
Shitter.
up.
Yeah, because that's messed up. So he laughed a little
Jesus.
bit and sat back in the chair. They said that calmed him down. They said that's how she got the name Shitter. So they said, how would you describe her personal reputation? What did the guys say about her? Try to see where his head's at. He said, I guess I would have to describe her reputation as loose. That's what he said. That's what all my friends said, but I don't really think she did as much as the guys said she did. People like to brag about stuff that never happens.
He is besmirching the fuck out of her.
Well, he's just trying to say that so many guys could have access to her.
Right.
That's what he's trying to say.
Right.
I mean, anybody could have killed her, really. I mean, she was, too many people to even list.
Yeah.
Not me, though. They said, when was the last time you saw her? I only saw her 2 or 3 times in the past 6 months. That's it. He said he drove straight home at 11:30 from the track. They said, did you talk to anyone? Maybe your girlfriend? Anybody witnessed you get home? He said, my mama was in the kitchen when I got home. We talked before I went to bed. What time did you say you arrived home? And he said a little after midnight because Bonnie Faye called me at 1:15. So, he gave these answers. They said, before you go, Ken, what, in your opinion, should happen to the person who killed Crystal Todd?
Yes, best
They
question
always
ever.
ask that
I love
question.
that question.
Yeah. And he said, I'm not sure. Jail, I guess.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
That's not the answer.
It was a 45-minute interview. The cops had no reason to believe that he was even a suspect. Then they asked him to take a blood test, and he hesitated all of a sudden. He said, what do you want my blood for?
Well, try on these handcuffs, too, by the way.
They said, for DNA comparisons.
Yeah.
It's standard. We're asking a lot of people for blood. And he said, what's DNA? Because it's 1990. Right now, it's the beginning of 92. No one knows the fuck DNA is yet unless you're like a big, Law and Order fan. They said it's a genetic fingerprint that we'll use to compare other evidence taken at the crime scene. No 2 people have the same DNA. We're using it with a lot of other white males that were associated with Crystal Todd. So they told him that if he had said anything to Bonnie Faye about beating the test, he suddenly became wary and hesitated, but he admitted he said something. When asked how he could beat a blood test, he said, all you have to do is just carry someone else's blood with you and then give it that as the sample.
Oh, yeah.
And they said, that's not the way it works, dummy. You'd personally go to the hospital accompanied by a police officer. Then at the hospital, a doctor or nurse would take the samples, and it's all supervised. You absolutely can't do that. Then they said, will you submit for a blood test? And he said, can I talk to my mother about it first? He's 18. They said, sure, you can talk to anybody you want, your mother, your father, a lawyer, anybody. And then the other cop said, you're an adult. You're 18 years old. If you want to consent, you can go ahead and do that now, or you can leave and talk to whoever you want and come back. And the other cop said, it's a voluntary thing, and it's up to you. You'll be the one signing the form. A lot of other people have been asked to do the same thing. And he said, what did they do? And they said, everybody that's been asked to do it has fucking done it.
Yeah.
So he said, well, then I guess I will too. And he said the cop said that Ken seemed very nervous, asked a lot of questions about DNA. He wondered how the test could lead to an arrest of someone for murder, how long it took back to get the results, and all that shit.
How much of a head start do I have?
They finally just said, quote, son, we have an expensive piece of equipment for blood samples, and whatever's in the blood will show up.
Yeah.
I'm not explaining science to you. Fancy machine with lights and shit. We turn it on, it says who killed her. That's what we're doing here. Shut the fuck up. So they do all this. They collect all the samples from him. They send him off. He ends up talking to Kevin James. Yeah. He drives directly to James's Tires, where Kevin James worked. It's his family's business. And he says, Kevin, the police were awful. They were just awful. They made me feel like a criminal. They talked to me something awful, treated me like a dog.
Oh, my God.
So 2 days later, he visited Bonnie Faye again, and he told her about it. He said, they treated me terrible. They're fixing to arrest the wrong one now. I know if they say I did it, they've rigged my blood.
Uh-huh.
They rigged it. He said then he left, and he's never went back to her house again, by the way, Bonnie Faye.
Never again.
Lighting her cigarette for her. Pretty close relationship. February 15th, 1992, DNA sample, blood sample 137.4 is identified as the matching outside source of DNA with Crystal Faye. Also, they said it's a O positive blood type, and he's a secretor as well.
Yeah.
And they have a subtype of 1-2+. And they said, what the fuck does that mean? And the doctor said, that means really rare.
Yeah.
This is a rare, it's not a lot of the same shit. So this is, in addition to the DNA, all the other shit too is real rare. So this person, this is like a fingerprint.
This is the guy.
So they said, well, who is it? And they said, Johnny Kenneth Register II.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
He was the 50th person to be asked to submit DNA, by the way. Not even in the top 49 of suspects.
Wow.
So they go to get Ken. They're going to go pick him up and arrest him. They tell him, though, they find him at work, and they tell him that we need you to clarify a couple things on your statement. So I know it's a pain in the ass, but there's a couple of questions. We need to check for accurate wording, they tell him. He's like, yeah, right, sure. And then he saw the wording of one portion of the interview, and Ken laughed and was like, oh, yeah, that's wrong, and blah, blah, blah. So, he took the pen and signed it, and they said, yeah, that's fine. And then he's all calm and starts to walk away, and then they grab him and fucking cuff his ass. They put his hands behind his back. He said, what are you doing? And they said, let go of me. And they said, you're under arrest for the murder and rape of Crystal Faye Todd.
Yes.
And he said, you got the wrong person. You got the wrong person. And then they sat him down and took out the card out of his pocket and said, I'm going to read you your rights now, so you need to listen very carefully. Do you understand that? And he said, yes, I understand. And he said, what is this? You don't understand. I wasn't even around that night. I couldn't have done it. They're like, you've been informed of your rights. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
And he said, yes, but there's been a mistake. You'll see. My mama can clear it up. I want to call my mama. That's what he said. My mama can clear it up. I want to call my mama.
Mama can't.
So then
do
they,
it.
yeah. So then they said, well, you're the primary suspect. Now you're being charged with murder. And he said again, quote, I want my mama, and repeated it all day long. So anyway, questioning again. It's a different questioning now. Now it's pointed. He said, I didn't have anything to do with it. Will you talk to me? And why? What do I have to say to get you to understand? And they're like, we're not listening. He said, Mr. Knowles, that's the officer. Mr. Knowles, you know I couldn't have done this. There's a mistake being made. He's a mistake. And they said, well, we're just going to ask you some questions here. It may take a while. And he said, there's no questions. I ain't done nothing. I want to call my mama. So I'm trying to tell you, this is a mistake. He said, they took him down. They sat him down. And he said, we don't need to do this. And they said, do you understand me? Uh-huh. We're doing this, basically. And he said, you're not listening.
No.
I tried to tell. Yeah. I tried to tell them others. They said, we're going to listen to you. We want to hear all about it, they say. You've been told your rights, right? Yes, I have. Okay, great. So they said, Ken, you've been instructed concerning your rights. Do you understand what I'm saying? And he said, yeah. Are you willing to talk? And he said, yes. So they go in hard. They said, Ken, we want to be clear with you from the start today. We know that you killed Crystal Todd, and we're here to listen to your side of it. We're sure you've got something you want to say to us. And he said, what? I didn't do it. I'm trying to tell you. And they said, wait, we'd like to record this, Ken. Do you mind if we turn on the tape recorder? And he said, record it? And he looks at the recorder, and they said, we got a tape recorder here, see? And he goes, I could just push this button like that, and we turn it on. And Ken said, I don't want the recorder. I don't want no recorder on. They said, if we tape it, we'll have a record of everything. We'd like to turn it on, Ken, but we won't if you don't want us to. And he said, no, there ain't nothing to tell anyway. I don't want no recorder on, though. And they said, all right, we won't turn it on. You can go ahead and tell us what you did. We want to work with you. You can see that. We're not turning this machine on. Like, look at what we're doing for you.
We're doing you a favor.
But you'll have to work with us. We can't unless you work with us. And they said, all right, now tell us what you did.
Yeah.
And he said, wait, now listen to me carefully. I didn't do this. I'm telling you, I didn't kill the girl. Just ask my mama.
She knows everything.
She knows it all. We're asking you, he said, we're asking you. Your mama wants you to tell us the truth. And he said, I didn't kill nobody. And they said, why did you kill her, Ken? We know you did it. We've got witnesses that saw you with her that night.
Oh.
Not true at all, by the way. I saw a police interview, an interrogation recently that I was watching where the cop they did like a double lie. Like, the cop is allowed to lie about evidence they have to you. They can say, I got your fingerprints all over that gun, when they don't. But the cop told the person, legally, I'm not allowed to tell you I have evidence I don't have. So here's the evidence I have. Not only did he not have that evidence, he also isn't legally required to tell him the truth. So he lied. I was like, wow, that was a meta lie, bro. My head hurt from trying to figure out.
Balls off.
Wow, that shit hurt. I didn't kill nobody. We've got a witness. And he says, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. What's wrong with you? Why won't you listen? And they said, did you have to kill her? Is that it? You had to kill her for some reason? And he said, do I get a phone call? And they said, tell her why you killed us, Ken. That's all you have to do. Yeah. Don't I get a call? I want to call my mama. And they said, you're not going to get out of here, call anyone, see anyone until you tell us why you killed Crystal. And they get real close to him. And he says, we know you did it. There's no use to deny it. We're here to hear your side. And that's what's going to happen. And Ken said, what about you? You know I couldn't have done this, to the other cop. Tell him about me and Bonnie Faye, how we're friends and all. He wants the other cop to go, you know what, let's uncuff him. I think you're coming on a little strong. Knowles, the other cop, he just sits there and stares at him, and he's the note taker. Yeah. The other cop's the aggressor. That's what they do. One cop's kind of the pickup guy. He'll pick up any loose ends, but he's not the lead here. So Caldwell says, quote, he can't help you, son.
He ain't gonna help you.
Only you can help yourself. And Ken leaned away and said, tell him, to the other guy. And Knowles said, there's nothing I can say, Ken. He told you how it is. You've got to tell us what happened. So Ken said, I didn't do anything. You're not listening. I didn't do anything. And then he started crying. So they backed off a little, let him compose himself, and then they moved back in and said,
this is the behavior of an innocent man, but his jizz is everywhere. That's a problem.
But that's the problem. Everything else he's done except jizz and murder a girl is of an innocent man.
That's a problem, yeah.
Yeah, and also wanting to talk to his mama, which is a little weird. So I guess Brandon Dassey wanted to talk to his mama, too.
He did.
So he said, Ken, I'd like to help you. I really would. But there's not a lot I can do for you unless you help us. And then Ken looked at him and he said, we've got DNA, Ken, and it says you did it.
Right.
Ken says, that's a lie. Nope.
No, it's not.
And he says, no, sir, we got it. We wouldn't have arrested you if we didn't have the proof. The DNA don't lie.
Right.
And then they both leaned in and cornered him and said, that's not all we have. We've got everything. We've got your tire prints, son. Match your car.
Right.
Now we're turning my cousin Vinny here.
Yeah.
It's fucking perfect. It's a match. And then they said, identical. Ken then said, that's a lie too. You can't have, because I wasn't there. And they said, no use to deny it, son. We got him, and we got a lot more than that. Tell us why you killed her. That's really all we want to know. Just tell us why you did it. And then the one cop shook his head and said, we're wasting time here, Ken. Tell us why you killed Crystal. I didn't kill nobody. We know you did. I didn't. I'm telling you. This is the back and forth. We know you did. I didn't. Don't deny it, son. I want my mama. She'll clear this up. There's no mama, no daddy. There's nobody but you, boy. Tell us why you killed the girl. This is literally the dialogue that's happening in this fucking room. There's no mama. There's no daddy. Just tell us why you killed the girl. So they said, then Knowles nods to the other officer and leaned back and said, wait, now this is getting out of hand, David. Why don't you take a break? It's not going to help us to get upset here. Good cop, bad cop. Yeah. The bad man's gone. I'll help you. So this guy sits back in his chair and stands up and he says, when I come back, I want some answers. Yeah. And then he leaves. And Knowles leaned in and said, okay, Ken, I know this is hard on you, but it doesn't have to be. Let's just take a little break too, right here, me and you. Do you need something? Can I get you something?
You want a McDonald's? You want a burger?
You want a burger? Ken said he just shook his head and he said, okay, let's just rest then. We don't even have to talk. Let's just rest. That's fine. No problem here. So anyway, they said Ken said he didn't drink or do drugs, never hurt anybody in his life, had a job playing guitar in his church, had a nice girlfriend, that everything was going his way. He said his story that he had last seen Crystal 3 or 4 days prior was true, and he said, why would I have killed her? Why? So then the other cop comes back in, Caldwell.
Yeah.
And he says, all right, Ken, we believe that you killed Crystal, but let's let that go for a minute. Interesting. We have to try to look at this thing in terms of what a man will and won't do. And he said, sometimes a man will do something and it's just because he's just a mean person. You know what I mean, Ken? There's mean people in the world. There's just no accounting for them. They're just born mean, I guess. And there's some, and they'll do things out of meanness, even kill someone just because. You with me, Ken? And he nods. Sometimes, though, a man will do something, even kill somebody because he's made a mistake. He didn't want to. Maybe he didn't even mean to, but it happens. He made a mistake and he's sorry, though. He's sorry. Yeah. And then Noel says what he's trying to say, Ken, is that Crystal would have been killed out of Crystal could have been killed out of meanness, or it could have just been a mistake, a terrible mistake. You understand, right? And he nodded. He said, the reason we're telling you this, Ken, is because it's important for a man to know the truth about himself and whether he's a mean man or whether he's not. And the reason that matters is because of the difference between guilt and shame. Shame is when you've done something wrong and you feel bad about it inside. That can feel terrible too, which is the worst feeling depends on whether you're a mean person or not. You see, the mean man will feel shame anytime somebody knows he did something wrong, and he'll always live with that. He won't always feel shame, but he can't get rid of it. As long as someone knows about what he did wrong, he'll feel shame and feel bad. But a good man who makes a mistake is in a better position. He'll feel guilty and feel bad about something he's done inside of him where it'll eat at him, but he doesn't have to feel bad. He can tell somebody what he's done and get rid of that guilt. He doesn't have to live with it, but he has to confess it to someone or it'll just keep eating him up until he's just a hollow man.
Oh, boy.
So, you see, a good man needs to own up to his mistakes, no matter how bad they are. That's the only way he'll ever be able to live with what he's done.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good fucking rap here.
Great beat.
Then he says, which are you, Ken? Are you a mean man?
There you go.
And Ken shook his head. I ain't no mean man.
Yeah.
Yep. You're not a mean man, Ken? No. He said, no. He said, how are we supposed to believe you? You make it hard for us to believe you. He said, sometimes people make mistakes in the world, Ken. Everybody makes mistakes. There's no perfect man. But a real man owns up to his mistakes. Of course, there's different kinds of mistakes, too, some not as bad as others, and sometimes we can't help it. Something else influences what we do when we do something. Isn't that right, Ken? Like when somebody's drunk. You ever seen somebody do something when they're drunk, Ken? Something you just know they wouldn't have done otherwise? I bet you have. And he says, yeah, I've seen that before. He says, sure you have. We all have. About when somebody makes you mad. Remember earlier, Ken, when you bowed up on me and I said something to make you mad, didn't I? And I didn't blame you for getting mad at me. And he said, Ken, I think you got a temper. And Ken said, I wasn't angry. And he said, sure you were. And it was all right, Ken, I made you angry. And he said, then Ken said, you shouldn't have done it. And he said, you may be right, maybe I shouldn't have. He says, but it happened, and it's okay to say I did it. You shouldn't have is all. And he said, maybe what happened, maybe that's what happened to you that night, Ken. Is that what happened, Ken? Did Crystal say something or do something that made you mad? And he said, no, I told you. We've been through that. Why would I have killed her? And they go through the story, and you went straight home. That's right, I went straight home. He says, well, your straight home take you through Conway, Ken. Because we know you were in Conway. We got a witness that saw you in Conway. So don't tell us you didn't drive to Conway because we know you did. And he said, well, see, there's different ways I can get home. There's 4 or 5 different ways I can drive.
See what happened was.
And you took one of the routes that took you through Conway, didn't you? We had witnesses that say you did. And he said, I had some time to drive, so I drove the long way, and I circled through the mall. That's all I did.
Uh-oh, you dumb fuck.
He said, you made the loop around the mall? And he said, no, I drove behind the mall and then out the side on 501. I didn't make the loop. And they said, well, okay, that makes more sense then because I was confused. I mean, we got this witness said they saw you, but now I understand. They must have seen you when you drove through the mall parking lot.
Yeah.
Trying to put him there. Can you show us which way you drove, Ken? I'm not as familiar with the mall as y'all are, he said. He took a pen and a pencil and drew the pen and a pad and a pencil, a pan and a pencil, a pencil, a pan and a pencil. I just said that's worse than trashtic flashbacks. So he drew the route around the back of the mall. He said he waved to a couple friends as he drove by, and they said, "You talked to people?" And he said, "No, I just waved at people." "You saw him wave at you?" And he said, "Yeah, maybe they did." In other words, they didn't see him either. They said, "Our witness say they didn't see you at the mall, but they saw you on Elm Street." And he said, "I wasn't on Elm Street." And he says, "You don't seem to know where you were," the cop says. And he says, "First, you're not in Conway, then you are. Then you're at the mall saying hello to your friends," which, by the way, we're checking on right now. And he says, I didn't say I saw him. And they said, yes, you did. You said you waved to him. He said, I meant I don't know if they saw me. And they said, well, that's just another lie, isn't it? That's all we've heard is lies, Ken. You've done nothing but lie to us for close to 3 hours now. And he said, quote, I'm tired, Ken then said.
I'm so sleepy.
Then they said, well, we're tired of hearing you change your story every time we catch you in another lie. Tell us the truth, Ken. We want the truth. We know you killed Crystal, and we want to hear your side of it. And he said, quote, I want to talk to my mama. All he has to say is, I want to talk to my lawyer, and then it's a completely different thing. But he instead chooses mama. And then he said, we told you, Ken, there's no mama until you cooperate with us and tell us what we want to hear. And he said, I'm not going to tell you about it until I talk to my mama.
Yeah.
So they take a break. They go talk to her mama.
Yeah.
Okay? The cops do. She said, I'm not coming down there, but I'll write him a note. Okay? So she writes a note saying, Ken, I love you. I know where you were at. We know when you left the racetrack, and I know when you got home. I'll stand by you. I love you, mama.
Yeah.
Now, the detective said they would. The detective said, we're not showing this to Ken. They tried to get her to write something like, tell them everything you know. Right. And instead they wrote the opposite. So they get back. They don't tell him about the note, and they go, your mama said to tell us everything you know. She wants you to talk to us.
I love it.
Then they found a friend of his that said, said that they didn't see him waving like he said. And he said, what, did you talk to my mama? They said, we talked to your mama, Ken. She said for you to go ahead and tell the truth. And they said, what do you mean? Where is she? I want to see her, Ken says. And they said, you can't see her. She doesn't want to see you right now anyway. Now, why did you lie about going to the mall? And he said, what do you mean she doesn't want to see me? They said, forget that, Ken. You're not seeing her. Now tell us why you lied about the goddamn mall. And he says, I didn't lie. You said I could talk to my mama. And they said, no, we didn't. We said we'd talk to her. Your father made it difficult to get a word in, but the gist of it is she wants you to cooperate with us and just tell the truth. You talk to Daddy, too?
Oh,
God damn it, Ken. He said, you could call it that. He was right there, all right, talking nonstop. They don't want to see you right now. They want you to go ahead and tell the truth. Now tell us why you lied about the mall. And he said, I didn't. And he said, you did. We got the boy right there. You want me to bring him in here and have him call you a liar that he didn't see you at the mall? And he said, no, maybe he just didn't see me. I don't know. I thought he did. And then he goes, your story's falling apart, Ken. Our witness said they saw you in Conway and didn't say you were at the mall. We know you were lying about that, Ken. And they said that they saw you on Elm Street with Crystal. That's where you were. I was not on Elm Street. Give it up, Ken. We've got the whole story, and we're all you got. And he says, you're trying to trick me again. So they go through all this shit, and they said, you hear what we're saying, Ken? You hear us. There's people who've confessed to crimes that are out there leading productive lives right now. Just get it over with.
There you go.
They said, finally, here at approximately 3 o'clock, he thought of a new, Knowles said, this approach. He said this was his last approach. He said, Ken's a religious young man, went to church and played music. So they said, Ken, have you asked God to forgive you for what you've done?
There you go.
Ken broke down and sobbed. Gasped for air. They found the button. He said, several minutes later, as he composed himself, they said, Ken, have you asked God to forgive you for what you've done? And he cried again and cried. And then he finally said, yes. And they said, tell us about it. Do you mind if we turn on the recorder now? And he said, no, don't turn it on. So they were like, all right, just tell us what's going on. He said he drove back from the go-kart and seen Crystal in her car at the 9th Avenue stoplight on Elm Street. He said they had driven there to the middle school where Crystal parked her car, taking her keys, and got in with him. They rode out to a spot in the country to park. They started kissing. One thing led to another. He said they had consensual sex without protection, and Crystal got mad after he ejaculated inside of her. Mm-hmm. So he didn't pull out. She began to hit him in the chest, is his story. In a fury, he says, she got out of the car to put her clothes on, all the while screaming that if he got her pregnant, she was going to say that he raped her. That's what his story is. So he said he was confused and angry and wanted her to stop screaming. So he got out of the car, using a knife that he kept in the compartment between the seats, started stabbing her. Jesus Christ. Talk about 0 to fucking 60. Holy shit. They asked for details, but he simply said he was frantic and couldn't even remember everything that happened. He remembered being very frightened when he realized what he had done. He dragged Crystal's body from beside the car to a ditch close by, threw the knife as far as he could, and drove home as fast as his car would take him. He said, quote, "I didn't get very bloody." How?
How the fuck did...
Yeah, he said his mother greeted him in the kitchen, and then Bonnie Faye called, and that was that. So
he showed up home after that, not very bloody, and Mom didn't have any questions.
A little bloody, and that's fine. So that's fucking crazy. So anyway, they're taking him to they take him to the detention center. During the ride, he totally back to normal, talking about weightlifting and football and shit.
Idiot, asshole.
Yep.
Nightmare.
So they have the indecent exposure trial actually first. And Ken said he testified on his own behalf and said he grabbed the top of my pants and kind of shook it.
Yeah.
He said the woman wouldn't give me the time of day. I felt like trash. So the prosecutor said, "You were trash when you came there. That's the kind of person who would expose himself to two young girls he's never met in his life. Right. Trash."
Yeah.
Which is true. And so the jury deliberated for 2 hours, found him guilty of indecent exposure, and there's that. So his murder trial, which is a little more important.
Oh boy.
It's got fucking DNA, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a slam dunk.
He tries to testify on his own behalf. That doesn't go well.
No.
They bring in charts with a styrofoam head showing all of the stab wounds and how deep they went, and the fact that she was conscious and blunt force trauma and rape and all this shit. He gets on the stand and he says he didn't rape her, he didn't kill her, he didn't meet her that night. They said, "Well, what happened?" He said, "Well, Mama, she always waits up on me. She never goes to sleep until I get home. When she seen me pull up, she got up from the den and started walking into the kitchen to me, and I met her about halfway in the kitchen. When I walk in the door, the kitchen, the bar and everything is here, and the kitchen, and there's a clock right above the kitchen table, and she looked and she said, 'You're home a little early, ain't you?' So it was approximately, I can't say 12:15, but it was approximately 12:15. So, yeah. Also, he's talking about his girlfriend. "I have a girlfriend. This is crazy. I have Tammy, and I like her, and I have no interest in this." They said, "Well, why'd you confess?" And he's like, "I was scared. Okay. That's all. Real scared. So I confessed to murdering and raping people." So, they talk about the fact that they left him alone in the room and all this type of shit here. Anyway, closing arguments, the prosecutor says this defendant is guilty and has earned his right to be convicted. Mm-hmm. And in the closing arguments for the defense, his lawyer says, quote, "They're all lying. Witness after witness is lying."
What about the DNA? I mean...
verdict comes in, not just guilty, motherfucking guilty, which is often that verdict doesn't come down in South Carolina. It's motherfucking guilty, but it's a rare one. Also found guilty of criminal sexual conduct in the first degree, kidnapping, and buggery and sodomy.
Buggery. You bugger.
That is anal things, I believe. Sentencing here, lots of witnesses come up in the sentencing. A lot of his pornography comes up, his behavior at the funeral, what kind of a sick fuck can go there and be a pallbearer, all this. Then some other people came up, a young woman and her mother who said they'd received at least 100 obscene phone calls from Ken when he was just 15 years old.
Really?
The calls were descriptive. Some of them were taped, and they were, here's what she says. Quote, "In the calls, he would say things like, 'I'm going to tie you up and spread your legs. I'll make you scream. I'm going to hurt you. I know where you live, and I'm going to get you. He told my mother, I want to fuck you. I'm going to cut you open. I'm going to kill you.' He spoke to me a lot with a lot of anal references, like, 'I'm going to ram my dick in your ass and your pussy. I'm going to ram the gear shift in you.'" Jesus God. This woman said, "I told Ken Register's mother that Ken would end up raping and killing some girl." This guy is Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
He's a dumb Ted Bundy.
Bad man.
That's what he is. Stupid Ted Bundy should be the name of this episode, because that's exactly what he is. If Ted Bundy was a moron, he'd be like this. So, yeah, everybody does that. There is about an hour and a half of deliberations here, and there's aggravating circumstances of the torture and the kidnapping and all of this. But they sentence him to, "You, sir, may fuck." They find him guilty of holding her against her will and raping and torturing her to death. Death penalty or life in prison is on the table.
I want death.
You, sir, may fuck off, life imprisonment.
Wow.
That's crazy, right? I guess because he's young, decent looking guy, and they were like, well, that's
his crimes are escalating as fuck, though. He's a bad person.
You think? This is not good. Bonnie Faye said, I don't know how they could have mercy on him. He certainly didn't have any mercy at all on Crystal.
No doubt. Nor her family. She told him. Oh, God damn it, man.
Bonnie Faye and Ken together, him obviously via video here, went on the Sally Jesse Raphael show after this.
What?
Yes. Remember they used to have like a family and a murderer together? And Bonnie Faye said, Sally said, is there anything you want to say to Ken? And she said, you was hugging my neck the next morning. How could you do it? And be a pallbearer at her funeral. I know your mama wants you home, but she don't want you home as bad as I do, Ken Register. I want you to come home in a box in so many pieces, it'll take an hour to pick them up and put them in it. You enjoyed what you done to Crystal. All the time hugging my neck. You're the worst monster. There ain't nothing on earth that could crawl as low on their stomach as you. You'll break one day, buddy. You'll break good one day. I know it.
Good for
her.
And
he continued to deny that he did anything.
Idiot.
So I came home at 12:15. I don't know what you mean. His appeal is based on the fact that they didn't give him Mama's note, and they lied to him about Mama said. But here's the thing. There's a lot of shit that's constitutionally protected. I'm not sure a note from your mama is constitutionally protected. I'm pretty sure it's not. So
the other part is that fuck the confession. That's what they were looking for. That's what they wanted out of you to make this more of a slam dunk. They have your DNA. You did it.
You fucking did it, Chief. Yeah, if it was just the confession and I heard all that, I go, well, maybe they badgered him into it. No, DNA. They knew what was going on. Then a couple other things. It doesn't matter. There was a dissenting opinion, though, in the appeal that would have had it overturned, but they affirmed it. So, 2014, Bonnie Faye Todd dies.
Oh, Bonnie, I'm sorry.
So, yeah, poor Bonnie died. She had it rough, man. They said her life, everybody said she was just a shell.
Every day.
I mean, you could tell that it hurt her. She was in pain every day over this, which I don't blame her. 2022, there's a change.org petition.
What?
Against giving Ken a parole hearing. It's not it's a petition against him.
Yeah.
Has 2,877 signatures. I bet we can get that up a little bit probably.
That should be more.
Because that's this year, and he ended up just getting rid of the thing. He waived his right to parole hearing in 2022, but he's up for another one in 2024. So who knows? But he waived his right this time. I guess he realized it wasn't fucking happening, so why go there?
Yeah, or maybe he made a fucking mistake in jail too.
Yeah. No, that's probably possible too. So they don't want him to be released, obviously, and February 2024 is his next possible date. So
hate that.
That said, that is Conway, South Carolina, and one fucking hell of a wild story. Jesus Christ, that is intense, man.
Poor Crystal, man.
Poor Crystal.
So many people affected by that.
Poor Crystal, just a nice girl who wanted to go out and have a good time because she got her car back at 17. And we all did that. We all wanted to do that.
Car.
She wasn't trying to fuck with anybody or bother anybody or do anything wrong or weird, or she was just trying to be a person, man. And she was disappointed that this guy that she liked didn't talk to her at the party, and she saw Ken and maybe he talked to her and maybe she thought, well, at least he's being nice to me. Right. And the next thing you know, and we don't know, it could have started out consensual.
Sure. And
then he got a little weird and she was like, all right, that's enough. And then we don't know. We don't have any idea. It doesn't matter because in the end, that happened. Who fucking cares? He's an asshole and a scumbag.
It could have been exactly the way he told the story. Either way, that's just as bad.
Just as bad. Doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah, just because, she wanted to at first. That still isn't good enough. Sorry, you killed this poor girl. So either way, that is Conway, South Carolina. If you enjoyed that, please get on whatever app you're listening on. Give us 5 stars. It does help a lot. Drive us up the charts. Also, follow us on social media. We are at Murder Small on Twitter and Facebook, and at Small Town Pod on Instagram.
On Twitter.
No, we're at Small Town Murder on Instagram.
Right.
Hold on. Back that up. At Small Town Murder on Instagram. Okay?
Yeah.
At Small Town Pod on Facebook.
Right.
At Murder Small on Twitter.
There you
go. Those 3. Follow us there. Check all that out. Head over to shutupandgivememurder.com. Get all your tickets to your live shows, please, and your merchandise and everything like that. Yeah. New Orleans, July 15th. Get your tickets there.
Sweaty.
Fill that up. Don't be the least attended show in the country, please, New Orleans. Don't, because that's how we choose where we go the next time. Right. And if it's like half full, they're not going to let us go there next time. They're going to go, you're not going there. That's stupid. Right. And then we never get to go to New Orleans. So Anyway, that's how that works. So try to come there and hang out with us and do all of that. Patreon.com/crime and sports. Anybody $5 or above, you get access to the whole back catalog, to everything we've ever done bonus-wise, everything Small Town Murder, everything crime and sports. We got it all, I'm telling you. And this week is no different here. For your crime and sports, we're going to do some fun stuff. We're going to talk about our favorite movies, our favorite sports films of all time. We're each going to make a top 5 list, and we're going to talk in depth about it, and we're going to also exclude some of the ones that would have been in both of our top 3, your Major League, your Bad
I've got
News
my
Bears,
number 1. I can't wait.
And we'll talk about those also in this episode, but just not in our list. So we'll have a good list, excluding some of the obvious ones. And then for Small Town Murder, one of our favorites, old-timey murders, going back through history, through the newspaper archives, and finding weird old-timey murders to talk about is so much fun. And they're always insane. That's where we got dry gulching and all that kind of shit. And then on top of that, I found some weird articles I'm going to throw in there. A couple things on aliens, and one where it's Madison Square Garden. It's like in the 50s. There's a circus going on, and they announce the clown, and he doesn't come out, and that's because someone murdered him in his dressing room. It's fucking hilarious. Damn it, I wish it was me. I hope it was my grandfather. Put it that way. So that said, get all that and more. Patreon.com/crime and sports, and you get a shout out. Oh boy, Jimmy's going to try to get your name right. Speaking of shout-outs, let's get to them right now. Jimmie, tell me about the list of the most wonderful people in the world while mispronouncing their names horribly.
This week's executive producers are Melissa Turner, Jordan Bennett, Marion Kahn, I think. Scott Collins' wife? I'm not sure.
Probably.
904 Cosmetics had a birthday, but she didn't they didn't give their name.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Cosmetic company.
Whoever runs 904 Cosmetics.
And your eyeshadow is to die for.
Also Noble Gas. I don't think that's a real name, but that's
when you eat Arby's, you get Noble Gas.
Real Noble.
Noble. It's a noble fart, sir.
The humility. VC in New Mexico is our other producers. That's who these are.
Like venture capital in New Mexico?
In New Mexico. Corporal Carl Kirshner wonders, James, and he ponders, what is Yoo-hoo okay with pizza? Is that an okay pairing?
It's a decent combo. You wouldn't think so, but there's no dairy in the Yoo-hoo, so it's fine.
What kind of pizza?
If it was milk, I couldn't do it.
Any pizza?
I don't know if any pizza, but I like a cheese pie. I'll slam a Yoo-hoo in a cheese pie.
Right,
it's acceptable.
It's okay, acceptable. Corporal Carl. Run.
Yeah.
Nathan Johnson and his special purpose, Rabbi Shmulovich, Jerry Paul, Liz Vasquez, Thomas Smith in Berlin, Peyton Meadows, Jason Ohanian, Happy Hour checking in San Angelo, I think. No, that's not back home. That might be back home. I'm not sure. Turgi Thorson, Halan's Banana Stand. I don't know who that is, or if that's even from the show. Is it not? Turgi Thorson Holland? I don't know. The Banana Stand's great.
I don't know that.
Frank, the South African birdwasher, Janice Hill, Ann Moore, Julie Pollard, Drew Williams, Laura Moran, Emily Berger, maybe, Madison Spencer, Sarah Palumbo, Emerson Stuckey, Alice Reed, Tracy Whitehead, Lisa with no last name, Barbie with no last name, Martina T, Kayla Smith, Icarus,
who flew too close to the sun.
That might be the one.
That Icarus.
Steve Southern, Catherine Guilfoyle, Delaney Hanna, Brett Hagan, Jordan Johnson, Chris Bundy.
Do you remember Kid Icarus, the Nintendo game?
I do, but I didn't know that.
It was a good game. It was what he was based on. He had little shoes and he couldn't get them. Never mind.
That makes sense. Brendan with no last name. Heather Merchant. Raquel Hawkins. Daniel Tachella. Josh Loisel, I think. Louisel. Catherine Ryder, Christy Reynolds, Kevin James, probably not. Jessica Stope, Lindsay Parker, Cassie Erlin, David Hay, Harrison Campbell, Katarina Gilmore, Jasmine Poulsen, Timmy Thomas, Michael Matthias, Lily Tokar, Dan Teeter, Laura Iceland, Carrie Freer, I think, Casey Hamilton, Jennifer Templeton, Andrew Jordan, Les McCarty, Amanda Long, Rafael Quezada, Travis Yost, Peter Sylvia, Kira, Sama Shima, Shima. Okay. Maria Dieter, I think. Tiffany Little, Noble Gas. I said that. Cade Crowell, L. Paisley, Destiny Bass. Bass. It's probably Bass. Brooke Villinger, Sophie Pound. Oh, boy. Matt Ambelang. Phone Gerblaster. Okay. Jessica McConville, Liz Anderson. Nope, that's Andrews.
Andrews.
Allie Hofstetter. Marzi Fazekas. Haley Elaney. I wonder if I got a friend named Elaney. Sarah Jo Hot Mess, Tammy Trott, Shannon Short, Travis Essman, Vicky Hawkins, Anna Everett, Omar with no last name, possibly from The Wire. User yes. may fuck off. Gregory Smith, Harrison Chittenden, Jasmine with no last name, Mitchell Boudreau, Kyle Merkert, Jennifer Haas, Isabel Michelini, Carrie Nelson, Loretta with no last name, Zachariah Merkin-Dutch Mussman, Christy, Mikhail Robin Sherrill, Parker Clifford, Philip Blevins, Chris with no last name, Amy Boardman, Justin Neely, Paw in the Hand, Mobile Dog Grooming, Ashley Kane, Rebecca McIntosh, Carly Diderickson, Isis Gogler, oh boy, Erica Walker, Andrew Glassington, Jen Holcomb,
nice.
Brad Johnson, Ben Cousins, Meth Addiction, Don Schleiser, Lily Hartgraves, yes, Amy Marchand, Kaylin Hernandez, Rachel Salinger, Lori Lynn, Anonymous Rusty, The S-Man, Kyle Grubb, Zachary Snyder, Conrad Antononic, Deirdre Escalante, Jebediah Llewellyn Duging, I think, Cody Monk, Anna McCreary, Laura Spurbeck, Jared Overfox, Cameron with no last name, Walter B. Jacob Guru, Ollie with no last name, Dakota Starr, April McGuire, Kirby, Julia Larson, William Wallison, Morrison Reed, Dana Bertram, Paul Middleton. Probably that's the family that makes those fucking Black and Milds, James. Middleton's that right? It's a Middleton, right? I believe so.
I don't know.
Connie Glotzback Sturgeon, Smelly West Virginia Schmegma. Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Dan with Wonderful. No last name, and all of our patrons. Obviously, you guys are fucking fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, so much. Honestly, for all that you do for us, and for always being there for us, and for giving a shit about this show. Thank you. We love it, and it's your show as well, so thank you very much. If you want to find us on social media, very easy to do. You can find us individually. Go to shutupandgivememurder.com. There's links to all of our social media, or just Google Small Town Murder Podcast Hosts, and you can find us. Our social media will be right there. Come back. Keep seeing us. We can't wait to see you next time. And until next week, everybody, it's been our pleasure.
Bye.
If you like Small Town Murder, you can listen early and ad-free now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.
A few miles from the glass spires of Midtown Atlanta lies the South River Forest. In 2021 and 2022, the woods became a home to activists from all over the country, who gathered to stop the nearby construction of a massive new police training facility, nicknamed Cop City.
At approximately 9 o'clock this morning, as law enforcement was moving through various sectors of the property, an individual, without warning, shot a Georgia State Patrol trooper.
This is We Came to the Forest, a story about resistance.
The abolitionist mission isn't done until every prison is empty and shut down.
Love and fellowship.
It was probably the happiest I've ever been in my life.
And the lengths we'll go to protect the things we hold closest to our hearts. Follow We Came to the Forest on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus.